this pain of coming back to life. I feel everything, everything. When I open my eyes, your face I'll never forget. Your horror, my pain, I'm alive, living again. I feel every stitch and every scar. Father, what's my purpose? Abandoned, left for dead, a monster. Why have you forsaken me? Accept me as I am. You feel like a god. Do you feel like a god? Creating without thinking, no pros, no cons. You let me walk, you let me see, you let me feel. I found her, but she did not know me. I reached for her, but she recoiled in horror. I wanted to beg anything for her love. The look on her face, I want out of this place. Father, what's my purpose? Abandoned, left for dead, a monster. Why have you forsaken me? Accept me as I am. It doesn't matter, it can't matter no more. I'm incomplete, I'm missing me. The world is darker than I remember. I wanna love her, but this heart is not mine. I wanna touch her, but these hands are not mine. I wanna tell her I love her, but this voice is not mine. Looking into her eyes, I saw how love died. Now that's where her body lies. Father, what's my purpose? Abandoned, left for dead, a monster. Why have you forsaken me? Accept me as I am. Revenge shall be mine, I'll catch you in time. You gave me the pain of coming back to life. I want you to see me, look what you've done, what you've done. A man no more from a madman's hands. I walk alone, no part of me is home. Place me back under the stone. Father, what's my purpose? Abandoned, left for dead, a monster. Why have you forsaken me? Accept me as I am. As I am. What's my purpose? darkness surrounds me, shape-shifting in the night, stalking you. Does my face seem familiar? Does my back tell you more? Will I change you or will it end you? And the power that I have can give you eternal life. Death doesn't know me. I've become eternal. When the hunger wakes me, I live to feed. With the darkness surrounds me, where the mist, she follows me. I walk alone in the night, watching you, following you, leading on you through the night. When the hunger wakes me, I live to feed. With the darkness surrounds me. All your life I was still, I've become the living dead. I own the darkness and know what beats inside of me. I've become eternal. When the hunger wakes me, I live to feed. With the darkness surrounds me.
Friend's letter. In darkness I travel, my eyes upon a house disheveled. Walking the halls, all the pain I see, paranoia and anxiety. Usher was telling me, influencing spirits haunting the house of Living's not fair.
All right, folks. Welcome to Paranormal Roundtable. I'm your host, Josh Turner. This is PRT. Join us in the real reality. This is it, folks. The real reality. Keep talking about it. Some people still don't want to believe it. They want to believe what they've been taught when they were kids. The world is a certain way. Happy Halloween. It's not Happy Halloween yet, Mike. Mm-hmm. One second, folks. Mm. So, a couple things I wanted to go over before we get started here. Let people get into the chat here. Let people fill it up here. A couple things I wanted to go over. One, I got an email from somebody who had told me, was asking me a question about vampires and werewolves. Okay, and it was asking me, how do you know that this is a werewolf? How do you know this is a vampire? And the short answer is you don't. That's the thing. If somebody tells you like, oh, there's 100%, I know that this is, maybe they do, maybe they don't. I'm not going to say they're wrong, but I'm not going to say they're right either, because how do you know? How do you know? We're basically speculating, and we're saying that this is what this is. I think what we figured out here at PRT over the last year, at least the last year, I think we've come to some conclusions as of late, and we figured out that these things, yeah, they're vampires. I mean, that's what I would call them. Some people would just say, well, this is a demon. It's a demon. That's what they are. That's what they are. It's when they interact with a human. To me, the definition of a vampire is an entity that takes your blood, your energy, or both. Or it takes you. And what I mean by that is people giving themselves over to these entities. And as crazy as it sounds, there's a lot of people that are willing to do it. I cannot believe how many people submit to the will of these entities. I cannot believe that it happens. It blows my mind, but it does happen. And it's like, if you give yourself over to the dark side, and a lot of people have, and some people do it unwittingly, okay, and then other people just are naturally evil and they infect everyone around them and whatever, that, just, it's crazy. I think what happens is there are beings that exist, and I think people are more comfortable believing that they're not. If that makes sense, they just would rather them not be real. But just because you want to believe something is not real doesn't make it not real. And there's this thing too that happens. Hang on one second. Let me get my notes. There's this thing that happens, like people will learn something. And I'm going to reiterate this later on in the show, because doing this episode, like, kind of taught me some things. It's not like I had to learn some kind of lesson from it or anything like that. That's not what I mean. What I mean is, like, I realized that, like, And you'll see what I'm talking about later on in the episode. But this guy had a friend, and it was like he just wanted to believe that the way that he always believed was correct, so that he would go and get, like somebody would teach him something, obviously, and then he would go and get it untaught. And what I mean by that is like he would go and, yeah, Lawrence, cognitive dissonance, yeah, for sure, but on a scale that's so detrimental to yourself that it's like you have cancer and you go and you run around getting a bunch of opinions till you get the one that you get that says, "Oh, you don't have it."
Yeah.
Then you die from it.
People want confirmation bias.
Yeah, and I think with this situation here, it was pretty bad because like he definitely should have known. And when we get into that part of the show, I just couldn't resist. Like I had to say something. Um, I don't know. It's just frustrating, So I got an email from somebody, and they were being really snarky, and they were like, "Well, how do you know it's a werewolf? How do you know it's a vampire?" It's a simple answer: you don't. And why do you call it that? What do you want me to call it?
The Thing.
You want me to call it Bubblish Fisheye? Because you can call it whatever you want. Don't change it. Don't make it. And you can scream something until your butt bleeds. It don't make it true or untrue.
It's call them all the thing.
Seems to be a just endemic. And it's like just people want to, and you could tell them something, and you could teach them something, and guess what happens? They get angry. They get angry, and you know what they do? They become resentful of you. Yeah. And you may think that is so weird. Like how can you teach somebody something and then they become mad at you? Because you unraveled their world. Their world was neatly folded into this origami that they liked, and you unfolded that and showed them that it's not that. It's a flat piece of paper. And they were like, "But I liked it when it was a swan." Okay, yeah, that's great. But the people that are and the entities and people that are working together to fool you into believing that that's an origami swan are bad. And guess what? They become mad at you. They blame you. So the first thing they do is they're like, "Oh yeah, that's wow, huh, yeah." I still don't want to believe it, even when you show it to them 100%. So what they start doing is they got to question your character. How smart are you really? All those things. And if it all checks out and they really can't find a whole lot, then they have to go and find another party that will tell them, "Oh, no, he's wrong. He's wrong. Go back to believing the way you were believing. You were correct." And some of the worst people will tell you those things. They will lie to you, and they will try to make you feel like you're right. You're on the right track. And that person that was telling you that, guess what? They're just a poo-poo caca head. That person that told you that, they're not the good guy. I'm the good guy. I'm your preacher. I'm your rabbi. I'm your cleric. I'm your, monk, your master, your whatever. Listen to what I'm telling you, because I've been telling you this, from the dogma that we've been pushing since time immemorial. And now someone comes along and explains it to you. And then that's it. You become the bad guy.
Let's just lay you down neatly back into your matrix pod. Mm-hmm. It's okay. Just go back to sleep.
So I told this guy, I said, I think that these are vampires, and the classification of a vampire in my book is still, here's what happened with that. I didn't like it. I didn't like the way it was laid out there. I'm not blaming the person that transcribed it, but I didn't have a lot of time to sit there and go over everything with this person. And so they did what they thought was right. And to me, it wasn't what I wanted. It wasn't what I wanted. And when you have to have someone help you with a book because you don't have the time to sit there and physically type it, because I don't have time to type the damn thing. And then you have to go back and read everything. Eventually what happens is you come to a crossroads where you have to figure out what you want. And so I had to turn it over to my brother. So the base is done, everything is done, but there's something not done. And so there are going to be a couple stories in there that are not that are never going to be on the show. So go and check them out. And I was going over one of them today and interviewing the lady, and my brother and me were talking about it. And her story is it's pretty gnarly, but most of these stories are, because the subject of vampires is something that it's terrifying, it's scary because this person just looks like a normal person, but then they're not. There's something else. There's something, and then to figure out that not only are there cults based around this stuff, but then there are entities that are vampiric. And if you read the story of Solomon, there was a vampiric entity named Orneus, and he is the one that is responsible for getting them all enslaved. Not just him as the vampiric demon, but all the demons in general. Now, the story's a little bit different in Islam. It was a jinn, which are a little different than demons because there's benevolent, there's malevolent, and there's just they're non-biased. They don't really have any kind of, they're ambivalent. They don't care. And so you have these different classifications of entities. For my book, though, I wouldn't want to interact with any of them. I don't care if they're nice or not because they have courts. And what I mean by that is that they have a judicial system. There are stories of people being taken in Britain and in Ireland and whisked away and dropped out into the middle of whatever a seelie or unseelie court. Seelie meaning clean, so do the math. What do you think unseelie is? The unseelie are the bad guys. And so they're like, hey, you committed a transgression against us. Most of the time it involves them like unwittingly harming one of them. But you could also do it wittingly. I say this, I really don't think that this will happen to someone who is saved by Christ. I can't really think of any cases where now there's people that claim that they're good Christian people, but how is an evil entity going to have the right to judge you if you are saved by the blood of Christ? It doesn't make any sense to me. So it kind of makes me think that maybe these people, if that really happened to them, they weren't right with God in the way that they were supposed to be. The same thing that happens over there in Britain, France, in Western Europe, apparently happens in Eastern Europe and has for a long time. And it also happens in the Levant. It's no different. There are entities that will take you and do the same thing to you in Asia. I mean, like East Asia, Central Asia, and Western Asia, the Middle East or the Near East. What's crazy about that, though, is that they all have like different looks about them. They're almost like different species. And the reason that is because they are. It's almost like they are. Well, they are. Some of them are from different regions. And when they're from different regions, they do different things. This was the dilemma that I came up with when I was talking to two different people who came back from the Middle East. The first one, I don't really know what to call him. We'll call him Grant. He's actually Hispanic. That's not his real name. We'll call him Grant. And he just recently got out of the military. He was thinking, hey, I'm going to be a lifer. I'm going to be in here forever, blah, blah, blah. And then he decided it wasn't for him, and he got out. Spent a long time in there, a long time. And then there's his friend Raymond. And Raymond doesn't have a problem with me saying his name. He's going to say his name. He's been out since 2009. I don't know what Ray's opinion of this is, or Ramon, or whatever you want to call him. But I do believe that there is, and I didn't mean to talk out of turn against this guy. I'm not trying to say anything, but I believe that he did mental gymnastics to make himself believe something wasn't really happening. So we're going to get into it tonight, and we're going to learn some things. Hopefully, we're going to talk about the connection between the jinn and vampires. And don't even say if there is one. No, there is one. They definitely are the same. They're two different things, but they're also the same. And we're going to talk about the connection between these entities and why it happens that so many people come back from the Middle East possessed, obsessed, or having an attachment. And some people are going to have a problem with this because they want to believe in their little world that they think is all whatever, and it's not that way. The world is not that way. And when you pull back the veil, well, a lot of people don't like it. And so I had somebody recently popping off about Petra and saying, yeah, I worked there or whatever. Yeah, we know people who work there too. One of them's a security guard for a company that subcontracts for us. And he was at one of our properties one night, and he actually was a police officer there in Jordan. Right?
Yeah, talk to the guy.
We talked to the guy. And he said himself, personally, he'd like to believe that these things don't happen. And the way he coped with it and dealt with it was to believe, that to tell himself that it was just stories. He was not interested in hearing these stories from people because it made him think about it. But he did say this. He did say that the Bedouins have their own beliefs and their own whatever. But this other guy, he did the same thing. Like he had this cognitive dissonance. So he decided to say something that was really ridiculous. And he told this woman that everything I said in that story that wasn't true. Yet, if you go onto YouTube and you look up these stories about Petra, you will find tons and tons and tons of weird phenomena that is recorded, anomalies, things that people have seen there in the Forbidden City. Now, he tried to say it wasn't called the City of the Dead. Well, it depends on who you are. He said that the Bedouins believe those stories. Well, aren't they the ones that?
Oh, you mean the people from there?
Yeah.
People who live there?
You mean the natives from there? He
Never
sounds
mind
very
what they
much like
say.
a white dude that's like, oh, wow, them crazy natives be saying all kinds of stuff. Totally ignore them, Winston. We're going into the jungle. Do not believe these savages and their stories of giants. Oh, my gosh, what is that? It's eating my neck. Ah. Oh, Colonel, you've been cocooned by a giant spider.
Howdy-ho then.
A minute. Well, men, I'm in charge now. Retreat.
Cheerio.
And Winston was gone. He got out of the jungle with his men because he was smart. And Colonel Douchebag got eaten. So how many times do you think this played out? The Belgium people, the British people. Can't say the Germans. They didn't even actually have colonies in Africa or any of those places. It was just the British, the French, the Belgian. But yeah, I mean, it played out quite a bit. Oh, it's just poppycock. Those people, they'll say anything. And the Arabs are very guilty of that, of actually not listening to the Berbers and the Bedouins. And because the Arabs did colonize, they did a lot of colonizing. Now, if you ask them, they never did anything. Arabs and Jews will never admit that they colonized or did anything.
No.
Those religions, too, are just like, no. My friend, this never happened, ever, not one time that we ever owned slaves. And you're like, yeah, what about Qatar, Yemen, and Ottoman Empire? With the exception of those three places. What about Tunisia, Libya? What about Tripoli? What about, well, then there were those people. But beside the 227 different places that did that, nobody did that. Ever. No slaves.
What about the Janissaries?
Yeah, well, that's Ottomans.
Yeah.
Jewish people are the same way.
Yeah.
We've been oppressed. No one has ever done anything bad. We didn't own slaves. Yes, you did. But you can't say that. But here at PRT, we tell the truth, and you did. You all owned slaves. And so did the Indians. People from India. Which is kind of funny. Like, what were they doing in Yemen? What were you doing there? Like, I talked to a guy recently. His grandfather was, he was one of the overseers, one of the grand visors or whatever in Yemen. And he goes, yeah, it was a colony from the British or whatever. I said, yeah, but the Indians, they ruled over it. No, my friend. No, we did not. He tried to tell me that. He tried to say, the Indian people would ever be overlords of no one. And I told him, I said, I'm not going to say his name. It's kind of rude if I say his name. But I said, I'll call him H. I said, H, yes, you did. Why were you there? The British did, yeah, but when the British were no longer in control of it, they gave it to India to rule. I said, and then you were also in Africa, multiple countries in Africa. So was China. See, this belief that colonists are only a bunch of white people, that is absolute BS because everybody's done it. And it's wrong. It's wrong. But they colonize. The problem is most people don't know history. And if you don't know history, well, then you can't really say, right? But if you do know history, you're supposed to be quiet, suppress it, and unless you're some sort of oppressed group, which you have to make that claim. And the only way for a person like me to make that claim is to say, oh, I'm a gay person. Then I can say whatever, right? But that would be lying. So I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to use any excuses. Colonization definitely happened. So I will say this to this guy. You say that you don't believe in the fairy tales that the Bedouins talk about. Why? Because those are the native people that were there before you. You're Jordanian? What is a Jordanian? It didn't exist until the British created it. Right? You're Arabian, right? You're Arabian. Okay, so your people colonized that region. And you refuse to believe in the stories of the locals when they told you that that city once belonged to a race of people that looked like giants. Look at the doors on that thing. You may be thinking, why is he saying all this? It has everything to do with what I'm talking about. Because when you go into other people's land and you take it, whether it's by force or trickery, you need to understand something. You got to expect that there's going to be repercussions, buddy. And that has happened a lot, a whole lot. And it also happened to the native people that claim that they're native here when they took land from other natives that were here before them. Because we know that there were at least 3 waves of Polynesian descended people, but they weren't the only people. They just overpopulated here. But there were people that were living here, i.e. the Aztecs. And we're going to talk about them extensively this coming Sunday. And I have a story to tell you about a guy who had something happen to him in Mexico and brought it back when he was a child, and it just plagued him most of his life. And you will learn something there too. These people bring these things back with them when they go to places they don't belong. Waging war is expensive, not just in the way that it destroys economies. It depletes the resources and it destroys the people that you're waging it on, but it also destroys psyches of the people who participate in it. And then they are susceptible to whatever entities are holding court in those places. Because a lot of times you are waging war on someone's land physically, but you're also waging war on someone's land spiritually. Did you know that? You know, the Irish say that the British are under a curse because of what they did to them. That all the things that went on because of all the oppression and everything they did to their neighbors, and I'm talking specifically about the English, because nobody is immune to this. I'm going to tell you, every single group of people on earth is responsible for doing something they shouldn't have done to their fellow man. The Fulanis in Africa, they're black people. What did they do? They murdered and killed thousands and thousands of people. They are Muslims predominantly, not just, but predominantly from Nigeria. And they've spread out all over that continent, and they have killed tons and tons and tons of people. Oh, that's haram. Let me fix it for you. Let me chop off your arms and legs. People aren't going to like what I'm saying, but it's the truth. And when you do those kinds of things, and you do it in a way that you say, this land now belongs to me. You can start off as an immigrant in another country and then eventually say that the land belongs to you because you kind of look like the people that were there before you, but you're not them. That happened in South Africa. That's another uncomfortable thing. People don't want to hear about that. They're like, why are you talking about that? because that's what happened. A lot of the people from the ANC, they're not from there. They're not Zulus. The Zulus were the ones that were there before them for 1,000 years. A lot of those people are Bolanis. People don't know that. You're not told those things. You're not told those things. And unfortunately, most of you don't go out and try to learn those things because you think it doesn't affect you, but it's all connected. It's all connected. And when you go to other lands and other countries, make sure that you clean the dust off of your shoes when you come back. Because the legend of the vampire runs very deep. You remember Dracula? You remember when he would go travel? What did he have to have with him?
His coffin.
No, his soil. He could be in anything as long as he had the soil. He stayed in that coffin, but it was a sarcophagus technically, but it was just so he could be packed in the earth where he was from. These beings come attached to the earth. And I told these soldiers, and I said, this may sound crazy as hell, but you should have dusted off your shoes and every single thing you had. And when you got back there, because they went to Germany and then they came home, you should have washed your clothes, tie, bind, and rebuke those spirits and send them back to where they came from because they're hitching a ride. And just as immigrants like to come to America, why wouldn't the Jinn? New place, new sights to see, new victims, more prey. Folks, everything is connected. Do you know what a bull shark has in common with a vampiric spirit? Tell me what you think that is. Do you think it has anything in common? You're like, what does a bull shark have to do? Because a bull shark will actually live in fresh water. The myth goes way back that, bless you, it goes way back that they do not live in fresh water. Baloney. They just caught one. Their New Braunfels last year. Can you believe that? A bull shark, a 3.5 footer, a baby. But that means there's more. Because mama came upstream to give birth to her pups. You know why? Because she's giving them a better life. You know how she's giving them a better life? Take a guess. Okay. Because if you're an immigrant, you go to another country. Because where you're from, it's tough. There's too much competition. Life is cheap. Something bad could happen to you. You don't want your children dying like that, do you? You want them to have a better life, right? Possibly your people were colonized for generations by white people, Asian people, other black people, Arabs, Jewish people, whatever. Uncomfortable to think about, and nobody wants to take responsibility for doing it, but it happened, right? And I can name every specific incident of it too, right? But we're not going to get into all that. What happens is you want a better life. Your country has been just it's a crap hole, right? So you go to America where you have more opportunities. Things are not as violent. You don't have to worry about waking up every day and dying. Maybe in some places like Chirac or Detroit. But who the hell wants to immigrate there? You're going to go somewhere where it's not as bad. And maybe there's some of your own kind already there doing, colonizing of your own. Because now it's reverse colonizing, right? But that's what the bull shark does. The bull shark will swim upstream, and not just to give birth, but they will give birth because it gives their babies an opportunity to not be eaten and killed out in the open ocean. Jeez Louise, dude. There's tons and tons of things. Bigger sharks like tigers and great whites, orcas, and all kinds of stuff that will prey on them. Even octopus will eat the young sharks. That's one of their food sources. So mama says, I'm going to give my children the best chance they can, and I'm going to take them into the freshwater. And some of them stick around. They stick around and they're like, hey, I like it in here. For the most part, maybe with the occasional alligator or gar, I don't have a lot of competition and I don't have to fight for my life. And then they become the king of that ecosystem. Same thing with the Jinn. Why wouldn't a fairy, a fae, or whatever you want to call it, come back with you from Ireland? It's a lot easier to navigate, right? Maybe it's easier. Maybe there's less competition. I don't know.
Maybe they have enemies there.
Yeah. Maybe they're a gangster and they're looking for a way out. But that's what Jinn do too. And to me, they're cousins. They're related. Now, you may think that a Jinn is completely different from a fairy, a fae, an elf, whatever, but they're not. They're cousins. It's the difference between looking at an Arab and an Irishman. What's the difference? Maybe the hair color, the eye color, and possibly skin tone, and that's about it. Traditional culture, whatever, those things, they have their own whatever, but they're still a human, it's still a person. That's what these things are. Believe me. And I think some of these things once walked the earth. They once roamed this planet with earthly feet. And that's what they were doing in Petra, in these cities, like Ad Amin. It's another one. It looks like this place belonged to giants, but when the giants were destroyed, they become what? Spirits. And if you think they don't have families and give birth and things like that, you're crazy. And just like sharks, they'd rather go somewhere where there's prey, less competition, not as big as predators. Same thing with immigrants who go for a better life. It's the same thing. They want a better place to be, better food source, whatever. So our story begins in Ramadi in Iraq. In 2006, if you look it up, it was a crazy, crazy pitched battle, and the Marines came in and they fought their asses off because the ISIL, incels, the insurgents there fought hard to make the, Sean, thank you for that donation. They fought hard to make that their capital, Al-Qaeda, right? Most of these insurgents, too, were people that were coming from all over the Levant who weren't Arab or weren't from Iraq. The Iraqis being the descendants of the Babylonians and the Sumerians before them. These were agents that were insurgents that were coming from all over. You had people coming from all these different countries. You had them from southern Arabia, like Qatar and Yemen and all these other places. You had them coming from Turkey. You had them coming from everywhere. And what they were doing, what they had in common was to drive out the infidel. Because if you think this wasn't the Crusades, you're crazy. What do you think the Crusades actually were doing? Anybody got any idea? What do you think they were doing? Well, you don't have to be right. Just tell me what you think. And there's no wrong answers, right? What do you think they were doing? Anybody got any idea what the Crusades really were? Even you?
Yeah, I mean, I think that like the real motives were it hasn't even changed today. That the real motives are like seeking out places and artifacts of spiritual power. That's my opinion.
Conquest, right?
I mean, on the surface, yeah, like it's conquest for resources, land.
Nowadays, it's not even
strategic
conquest.
Military positions, but in reality, the deeper rooted reasons is that these are places with spiritual power.
There it is. Top secret says trying to get money and seeking out secret knowledge. That's pretty much it. If you believe, and some people really do believe this, and these are the same people that don't believe that the Mandela effect is real, and these are the same people who also believe that the government takes your tax dollars and puts it to good use. We call those people special. So we're going to let the special ed people leave the room. If they want to leave, they can leave. Some people are actually going to check out. You watch. Yeah, I'm retired. I'm a guy about.
I like the government.
Government good.
I like the government and our greatest ally.
And I'm going to say this too. These people aren't even like the retardation, as in like the actual children who have mental defects. No, those people can't help what they are. These are people who choose that. It is a choice. It is what I call adult retardation, and they have a choice. They choose to literally be ignorant. It's called willful ignorance, and they will do anything to keep their world nice and round in the way they want it to be. Right? Yeah. Humanoid Human says they were sent to defend Christians who were persecuted in that region. Is that what they said? Is that what they said that they were doing?
That's a convenient reason, I think.
That's a good reason, but that didn't really. There weren't a whole lot of Christians in that region. Mostly Muslims, and there was a small contingent of Jewish people. But yeah, what happens? They send them in there because they're looking for artifacts. What was one of the first places that the war in Iraq sent our soldiers? The museum. That sounds odd, right? The libraries and the museums. Why would you send them there? We got to protect all this stuff. Gather it all up and send it to headquarters, where it'll be put into boxes. And much like Indiana Jones, it'll never be seen again, except by the people who need to see it. The people that are opening stargates and bringing this crap across. So what they do is they tell you, Iraqi freedom, we're here to defend and protect and do all this kind of stuff, blah, blah, blah. We got to go over there and we got to do all this crazy stuff. We got to destroy this country. They got weapons of mass destruction. And you got to believe it, because the most retardation president we ever had, next to this last one we just had, was Bush.
Yeah.
Bush and Biden couldn't rub their heads together and make one IQ point. Maybe Biden at one time was kind of smart because he was pretty crafty and evil. Bush was just born into being stupid. His dad was the evil one, and he was just, hey, what that, Dad? Oh, you got to forgive me. My son was born with a peanut in his head. But he has a handler. Don't worry. We'll get it straightened out here.
He talks with a Texas accent for some reason.
Talks with a Texas accent, but we're not from there. From Connecticut.
He's the only one in the family who does that.
Yeah, it was odd, to say the least. Well, I'm a Texan through and through. Could have fooled me. Now, you walk around the Crawford Ranch and you hit sticks with a wrench. He literally did that. Mm-hmm. He was hitting a piece of wood into the ground with a wrench. Don't even ask me what he was doing. And they're like, oh, that's a Texan for you. No, it's not, man. I don't know what that is. That's a special breed of stupid politician. But back in the old days, they had these people too, and they did the same thing. They sent people with that kind of special, stupidity. And then they drafted people with the reason that Christian pilgrims are being killed when they go to the Holy Land to visit. So we need to go down there and we need to take it over and rule it and kill everyone. That makes sense. Let's do that. And while we're there, maybe, I'm just saying, let's just throw this out there as maybe a side quest. Let's call it a side quest. You know what a side quest is, right? Mm-hmm. We're just going to, in case maybe the Spear of Longinus or just, maybe the Holy Grail, something. Maybe, I'm just saying, maybe if we have time from protecting these valiant pilgrims, we will send our most valiant knights to protect these valiant people.
I mean, since we're going to be there anyway.
But if we're down there and we just happen to run across some
might as well
shroud of we're just hypothetically, maybe a piece of wood from Jesus's crucifixion, something that we can use to control the world. If that happens, cool. But that's not the main. The main goal is to protect the pilgrims. So in Iraq, we did the same thing. We're over there because we got to protect the people that were the people from the thing that got the thing happen with a mass destruction weapons Kuwait, some kind of hot dog stand, I don't know what. We're gonna be there because we got to be there. Fool can't be fooled again.
Just pay your taxes. We got to do this.
We need to get the WMD, the WD-40, whatever those weapons of damn destruction. Got to get them going. Poot sweet, right? So everybody's like, oh man. We got to go down there. Iraqi freedom. Not one person in Iraq asked you to go make them free. And not one person in Iraq appreciated us being there. And not one person in Iraq is appreciative now. But there's a bunch of them here now. Thank you for that, because you brought them over here, because now they have nowhere to go. Because if they helped you in any way, even putting a rock on a carrier pigeon so you could throw it at the enemy, they are going to get beheaded by ISIL agents. So this is laying the groundwork for how deeply I feel about this, okay? I do feel very strongly that it was ridiculous. Thank you for that donation. A very ridiculous thing. But you know what else it did? It didn't just bring their people over here that, two worlds colliding that should never have been collided with. But you did another thing too. You had them bring their demons to our demons. Things that never should have happened, things that never should have existed, things that should have stayed put away and on their side of the world. We have enough to deal with native curses on land over here that was gotten ill-gotten gains. Think of the Dawes rolls and the people from Oklahoma. We know all about that. People that bought for $5. Now they're natives. 33 over 562, right? You're a native now because some carpetbagger in your family paid $5 to be on the Dawes rolls. And now you can claim that. It's lunacy, right? But those lands are cursed. Because some people were wiped out and kicked off of those lands, and then other natives who were troublesome enough to stay alive after their land was taken. You're like, you're still alive? Can you please just go across the country somewhere to some scrub land? Just go be there because we don't want you over here. What's even funnier is that some of these people lose so much track of where they're from and who they are and what they're like, this is our native ancestral lands. You're like, no, that's a reservation. And that's not where you're from. You were transplanted there. Do you not know that you were from the East? You don't, because they destroy every bit of your history. And people are too busy working or doing whatever it is, or not working, whatever it is they're doing, to even stop and look at history. So you got to forgive this guy for not understanding what was happening to him and not believing it because he was going by what he was taught as a kid. And then in order to circumvent the truth, he goes back to that belief. And that's what happened. Two guys who were in Ramadi together, Marines, fight a war, and in particular, a very horrible battle that they were at. Once it got settled and we cleared out the insurgents, the Marine Corps took a hard beating, but they prevailed. The Army, the Marines, everybody who was involved, the Air Force, everybody who was involved over there in Iraq, they did their job. They did what they were told. And it's not their fault that they were sent by a bunch of lunatics to go and free these people. And let's be honest, Cheney was the one in charge. It wasn't really Bush. Bush was just there. In fact, when 9/11 happened, he was reading a book upside down. How many of those kids were probably like, what is wrong with this guy? This is the president?
Are you okay, mister?
He's got a blue tongue that keeps darting out of his mouth. What is wrong with this guy? Like Prince Charles, video that with his pointy tongue, where he's licking his lips. Yeah, we know. Charles is hungry. Charles needs some rats. Somebody got any rats?
A cricket or two will do.
No, crickets won't, no, because he needs mammal flesh. He's big. He's a big boy. Yeah, they're past eating bugs. But I digress. We're going to get back to this. So what happens is two guys, they go back to Germany. I think it was Heidelberg. I'm not 100% sure, but they ended up going back to Germany after they were let out. One of them arrived a month before his friend got out. And almost immediately, I think the one friend, the first one, we'll call him Grant. Grant knew something was wrong with Raymond. He's like, everything was fine with me until I arrived in Germany. He's like, and I had to be there for about a month. And then, you just kind of decompress. And then I go back to the States and I go to another base. And that was going to be my life. He's like, but when Ray showed up, we ended up bunking together again, being friends and hanging out. He had a problem. He liked to drink. He's like, and he liked to gamble and he liked to fight. And he's like, I was with this guy from the beginning when we first got into Iraq, when, him and I, because they had this buddy program, right? That you bring your buddy along or whatever. He's like, we were in boot together. We were friends. He's like, and then something changed when we were after the battle of Ramadi. He's like, it was ridiculous. It was different. This guy had something wrong with him. He's like, and one night in particular in Iraq, he's like, I remember we were laying in a bombed out building. And he said, I look over at him, and my friend Money, that's what they called this other Marine. He says, we were looking and we were like, look at this dude. He's snoring. He's sitting there with his head straight up. And with the way he's sleeping and he's holding his weapon, he's like, his finger was on the trigger of his rifle and the safety was off. And I'm like, dude, what the heck? Don't do that. He sat up, his eyes rolled back in his head, and he told them F off in this guttural voice that they had never heard before. And one of the sergeants, one of the NCOs was there, was like, he turns around, he's using the NOGs, the NVGs, He turns around and he's like, what did he say? And he's like, well, sir, his finger was on. He's like, yeah, I heard it. He goes, it sounded like a demon. And these guys, their unit, they had been introduced to these entities, I guess you could say. At one point, they stopped and they questioned a young man. What was he doing? And this story gave me the chills when he told me, what are you doing out here after hours? There's a curfew here and we're fighting a war and you're just running around on your bike. They turn around to question him. One of the guys looks over at one of the other soldiers because they became the de facto police, basically, right? And so, at war, those with the uniform and the gun is the cop. People don't understand that the police are actually like a division of the military. It's kind of like the civilian division of the military. Because when things get bad and the police can't handle it, what happens? Well, here we have state troopers, and if that doesn't work, then you go to the National Guard. If that doesn't work, you bring in the full-on army. It's like the last stop. And these guys aren't going to play. You're going to do something stupid, they're going to shoot you. They're soldiers. That's what they do. They're there to fight. They're not there to be a counselor and your friend. That's it. So they're questioning this guy, and the guy's just standing there like, not, just looking off into space. And they do that sometimes. These people are just like, they don't want you there. And in point of fact, we probably shouldn't be there, but you're there. And that's all that matters, right? Because that's the way it is. You're just there. Those guys in that unit, not one of them asked to be there. Not one of them was like, yeah, man, I'm going to join so I can run to Iraq and maybe get killed. Or an IED will blow me to pieces and I survive and be maimed. Not one of them told themselves, yeah, I want to go to Iraq and basically be the police until somebody shoots me. None of those people said that this is, or that they wanted to invade Iraq, and none of them had the authority to say, hey, let's go do this. They just ended up there. So this guy is just looking off into space, and this guy that was there talking to him, we'll call him H too, because that's his last name. H looks over and says, what do you want to do with this guy? And when the guy turns around, he's gone. They had him in flexi cuffs. Now, you've heard this story, I'm sure, before. If you ever pay attention to any of these, I did a lot of research on this. This is a very real phenomenon that happened to many Army and Marine soldiers. The guy is standing there, and the next minute, he's gone. The bike he was on, which was blue, was also gone. What's really weird, though, was right there in the sand was this light blue dust with a streak of purple, which was odd because the guy was wearing a purple robe and the bike was light blue. This was witnessed by 3 different guys who, one by email, told me his name was Mitchell, we'll leave it at that, and said, hey, this really happened. And he verified, when I sent him the emails, this guy verified it back. He also gave me his information. He really was a soldier, and he has a DD-214 to prove it. These were real people. This is not a troll. These are not make-believe, and these people are telling me what they believe happened. Strange as that was, you have Grant, who's still, he's kind of like, he's a Lance Corporal, and he's just trying to get through. He's not trying to be anybody. He's like, I just want to survive the desert. That's it. He's like, I had heard stories. He gave me the name of another guy who actually has a pretty cool nickname. I'm going to talk to him. And that guy has a story of the Salawea, which is a werewolf. He encountered this thing. So that's another interesting thing, because while all this was going on in Ramadi at night, they would hear whipping noises, howling noises, all kinds of things, whistling. And one of the elders, who was a cleric but was no longer practicing because, of course, the mosque had been bombed to shit, he says, you need to be careful because the city is full of jinn. And no doubt that's why these people picked this place to be their capital. And no doubt that's why our country was interested in it too. We're the good guys. I shouldn't say we, because I'm not involved in any of those decisions any more than those Marines were. But when you're doing things you shouldn't be doing on both sides, right? Bad things happen. You know how the Battle of Ramadi was actually finally won? We'll talk about that in a moment. We're not going to talk about it right now, but just remind me. This is what happened. He goes home. And like a month later, Ray shows up and he had to go do something because he had to be, and so he shows up and immediately he knew something was wrong and had been wrong since Ramadi. And obviously this guy's brain was not working correctly. Now, I'm not disparaging the guy. The guy told me this himself on a phone call. His mind wasn't right. It wasn't wrapped tight like it should have been. He said, man, I couldn't think straight. I couldn't, he's like, at night I would go to sleep. He's like, I would wake up in the barracks and I would see this entity like moving around the barracks, a really slender entity with long arms. He's like, and this thing would be jostling, other people's footlockers and rucksacks and messing with things. He said, but the most terrifying thing happened one night. He said, I wake up, get this. This is Ray, right? They call him Ray. They call him Raymond, but that's not his real name, his full name. He says, I hear a click, 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 clicking noise by my head. He's like, I roll over. He goes, and I gradually open my eyes. He goes, and I start to adjust to what I'm looking at. I see what looks like a black curtain in front of me. And then I realize that it's something else. He goes, so I kind of push my head back, and I'm kind of adjusting to it. And the windows are open. There's no curtains. There's nothing in these, And he's like, this is at the headquarters, right? And he goes, and I noticed this thing had no feet. It was an entity of some kind. And this was a black robe. Tied at the waist of this black robe was this weird looking small lantern that was glowing green. He's like, and then I notice the clicking noise. This thing had a weapon in its hand. He's like, and I was on a top bunk. He's like, and I'm staring at it, and I'm like, and I notice there is a gun pointed at my head, a 45 semi-automatic handgun. And this thing was pulling it back and forth, playing with it, cocking the hammer and pointing it at him. He's like, the movements were slow and deliberate, and the fingers were extremely long with big black nails. He said, by the light of the moon, this thing had a sort of purplish hue to it, but it was black. And he said that this entity had red glowing eyes, and it had a shawl over its face, like the Bedouins were. He said, but this wasn't human. He's like, whatever this thing was, it was playing with a loaded gun, and it had the ability to manipulate. He's like, but I couldn't see any feet. But again, it was dark, right? And the moon's shining, coming in through the light. And Ray tells me, he says this thing was breathing. This is why we're talking about this one in October, because it's pretty terrifying. And the way it breathed, it was just like, he says, take Darth Vader and mix it with a freaking werewolf. That's how it sounded. He said, and when I noticed its head, he's like, it had a weird hat on its head. He's like, and there were little horns, 2 horns, right below the brim of the hat. And he's like, what are you? And he steps back and he looks, and this thing looks at the gun, throws it on the ground, and walks. At least if it had feet, it would walk. And then turns into like a ball and flies out of the window. This is what he believes a demon. There's no other explanation for this, right? The next day, he's at Chow and he is flabbergasted by what he remembers because he says, I just went right back to sleep, which was odd. I was exhausted. It's my first day back at HQ, trying to get a couple days rest before they threw me back into the meat grinder, which was Ramadi. He's like, and I don't know what I saw. He's like, but I did talk to my friend. This is what he said, and we'll call him Grant. He said, I told Grant, I said, hey, you're not going to believe this, but I saw something, blah, 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 blah. A couple days later, he brings another soldier up, and that same night, that soldier who was laying there tossing and turning and could not sleep tells him, his friend, and Grant says, tell him what you told me. And he was like, he's sitting there at the smoke pit. They go and they smoke the cigarettes, right? And he tells him, he says, I saw something very similar, and goes to describe in detail how he saw this thing come floating through the front door of the barracks, picking up packs of cigarettes and throwing them and looking around. He goes, and then it went to your side of the bunk, and I watched it play with a gun and pointed at you. He's like, I was terrified. He's like, I wanted to get up and do something. He's like, but I had paralysis. I was like, I could only lay there and watch. I couldn't move until this thing flew out the window. He's like, I didn't know that you were awake. I didn't see you moving because, I'm on the bottom across the room and you're. So this entity does what it does, and then it leaves. But 5 days later, he's back. He's doing what he has to do, and they're on the front lines, house to house, street to street, rough, brutal stuff, right? And he's like, we are laid down, and we're watching a newly recovered area, a neighborhood that we had just seized. And he's like, you don't know who to trust. It's kind of like Vietnam. My uncles went through the same thing. My dad's half-brother was in Vietnam, or two of them, and then my mom's, and one of my dad's stepbrothers was half-brothers. We had a big family. Just my dad's side of the family is huge, but we got a big family. So one of my uncles who's now passed away, two of them anyway, half-brother, and then my dad's stepbrother, and then one of them still alive. And then my mom's brother they were all in Vietnam. And I've heard so many stories from these people. So many stories. My old boss, who used to run a security company I worked for like 8 years, he was in Vietnam, told me crazy stories. These entities, I don't know what they are, but they were in Vietnam too, because they have their own flavor there. The thing you got to understand is war, and it doesn't change. It is going to do what it's going to do. And it pleases some people because they get a lot of money out of it. And people get sacrificed. And believe me, that's what they are. They're sacrificed. They're blood sacrifice. What it is. And these entities are going to be there. They're going to be on the battlefield. They're going to be where the blood is. You hear about these things in World War I. You hear about them in the Civil War. You hear about them in every war that's ever been. Vietnam was no different. You had the same thing happening over there. And I remember hearing stories about the Viet Cong and how you didn't know if this person walking up was just fetching water and they were just going about their day, or if they were going to try and frag you with a stolen grenade. It was so ridiculous, man. You had people doing stupid things. You had people in Vietnam who were doing such ridiculous things as selling weapons to locals. under the guise of, oh, we want to protect ourselves from the NVA or the Viet Cong. And then they turn around and they are the Viet Cong, and they were getting attacked with their own M16s because people were selfish and stupid, and people did really horrible things. And the Middle East was the same way. You had people who were awful, bad people. It's like a free-for-all in certain places. It's like people profiteering off of it, and people that are basically murderers who want to be there to be, and they do that. And this guy I was talking to, Grant, he told me, he says, there are people like that. They are there because they want to. And he said that one of the people that he came across was absolutely like that. He was a killer. And he was a merc. And most of the mercs were former soldiers, usually from some other country or America even, who wanted to come back and not have to get $680, whatever it is a month, whatever they're getting paid. Boot pay crap. They don't like, I don't want that crap. I want to get paid. So you get a head count and you do this and you do that. He's like, and you have to deal with some of these people. You come across them. They're like bounty hunters working inside the military. It's a weird thing. I can tell you all about it, but we're not here to talk about that. And I've gotten stories from some of these people too. But this guy, he was just ridiculous. He was absolutely ridiculous. He liked to photograph the people that he took out. It was pretty hardcore. Take trophies from these people. And this wasn't unheard of. I mean, but you're just going like, well, I'm glad he's on our side, right? He bunks in with them one day because they're there to try to help. There was a collapse on the northeast side of the property of the city, and they had to go, and so they end up in close quarters with this guy. And this guy's sitting there, and he's playing with his knife. And he's like, and it's weird, he's shaving a plastic bottle because I guess he didn't have any wood to shave. He says, what are you doing? He says, I'm whittling. He's like, is that your friend? He tells this guy, he says, yeah, I mean, we joined together. We're friends, whatever. He says, your friend has a demon on him, and it's standing right behind him. And he looks, he goes, I don't see anything. Grant's like, I don't see a demon. I just see darkness. And he goes, oh, I can tell. And the guy leans forward. He goes, I'll never forget, this guy had scars around his right side of his face. He looked like he had been, and he said that this guy told him, he says, I know because I have several. He's like, and when you take the life of these people and these beings are feasting on them, they look for something else to eat. But he said, luckily for you and your friend, he said, a lot of times they'll just kill and eat each other. Right? Creepy, weird guy. And Grant was like, I thought this guy was out of his damn mind. I still do. But what he said makes sense. And I told Grant, I said, hold on. I said, yeah, he's out of his mind, but he's not wrong. See, folks, here is the problem. And we talked about this with gifting Bigfoot and Dogman and these other creatures. When you become friends with a demon, and this sounds crazy, but there are people out there, folks, hear me out, that actually will do this. They will, in effect, be like, well, I have an attachment. I had somebody really tell me this. Somebody that I know in my personal life, he told me this. He said, I have an attachment, but I've learned to make peace with it. So you've learned to let it be a parasitic thing, but that thing is not making peace with you. You're just, you're
placating it.
And I said another thing too, if you find one of these beings in your house, you can call it a fairy, a djinn, you can call it whatever you want. And guess what? A lot of these entities are tribal. You know what that means? Let me explain. You are accepting friendship with something or making peace with this thing instead of rejecting it and getting it the hell out of your house. Do you know what the problem with that is? The problem is that these things have blood feuds just as bad as humans, if not worse. And they have families just like we do, but they take it to an extreme. They are from an ancient lineage that far exceeds ours. And some of these feuds are going so far back that this is before the Adamic race was even thought of. We're talking Rem and Tim. Well, you know what Rem and Tim is. I don't know if you watch the show, you'll know.
Mm-hmm.
What was the other one? Jan and what was it?
Zhang.
No, the Jan. That preceded the Jan. There was Jan and Ran or something. Look it up. I don't know. There's another type of. There's two different that preceded them. So who knows how far back these things go, and then you accept some sort of friendship with this thing or make it okay to be around. What if this thing has enemies, and why it's hanging out in your house? Why do you think it's hanging out with you? They're called the hidden ones. Do you think that they're trying to hide from you because they're afraid of you? Most of the time, do you really want to know why they're hiding? Because they're hiding from the others, the other ones that are looking for them. So when they find them in your house, you're a part of it. You're collateral damage. They don't give a crap about you. And in fact, I've had people tell me about these sort of intergalactic demons that come through looking for demons over here for whatever reason, interdimensional, whatever you want to call these things. And they find you. Do you think that a gangster that breaks into your house cares that it's a mistaken identity? The only problem with that is that they're like, well, now they got to kill you. Then they got to go find the other people and kill them. And they got to kill you because you saw them. So that becomes a problem. So you don't want these entities around you, hanging around in any shape or form. This is something that is a serious problem. And unfortunately, there are people who don't understand that. And no matter what you do, you will find that there are people who will try to say, and I've had people tell me this ridiculous crap, that it's the Ben and Jan. Rem and Tim, Ben and Jan.
There's a Hin, Ben.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Rim.
there's Hin, Ben, Jan, Rem, and Tim. Yeah. But there's a Jan and a Jen, a Hin and a Ben, and a Rem and Tim. That's what it is. Those are the different races that came one at a time. Some of them, like one would start to fade out and another one would be there. And then another one would fade out and another one would be there. These are entities that lived before us, whether you want to believe it or not. People go, well, there's no human ghosts or whatever. Watch when you come out of your body. What happens if you don't go immediately up or down? You'll figure it out. Be glad if you're in purgatory, if you're evil and you stay here, you might have a shot. But I'm not going to sit here and go through all of the explanation of what that is and what that entails. You believe what you want to believe. Because like I said before, people will do mental gymnastics to keep their beliefs. They want to stay believing something that makes them feel comfortable. So after you teach them something, they don't want to believe it. They go through all these series of emotions, which is always the final emotion is acceptance. And instead of accepting it, they run and they find someone to reaffirm what they believed before, i.e. a preacher or a wife or spouse, whatever friend or whatever No. You're totally correct in the way you stupidly and ignorantly believed before. And I'll tell you that because the 501c3 tells me, yeah. I'll never tell you anything that's close to the real truth because, 501c3. You don't know what that is, go look it up. They're liars. And they're going to tell you what sounds good and keeps you coming back. Yeah, keep you coming back. How else are they going to get the money in the collection plate if you don't come back? That's a problem because they're not teaching the real reality. They're teaching whatever, watered down Schofield, whatever. This, folks, becomes a problem because when you face these entities, you have no clue what you're dealing with. And so you just kind of go, well, this is what they taught me in Sunday school, so I'm going to believe that. And you don't do it. And you know what? A lot of these preachers, let me tell you what a lot of these preachers are telling people. Do you know what the prevailing thing is? Ignore it. Right?
Yeah.
We get that all the time. Well, the preacher told me, I'll just say my prayers and ignore it.
That if you acknowledge it, you give it power. It's like,
yeah, acknowledging it is giving it power.
It's already there.
Now, that is true to a degree. When you acknowledge it, you are giving it a bit of acknowledgement as power to it. You have to know that it's there, though, but you need to let it know that you know, and it needs to go. It cannot hang around. It cannot stay. And that is a problem because it takes a lot of energy to do that. And you know what that means? The energy that it takes to do that, which is fundamentally a part of who you are, and it should be a part of what you do anyway, that should be inherent. Because you shouldn't have these spiritual openings that are giving these entities these power. And I'm guilty of it. He's guilty of it. We're all guilty of it. Everybody's guilty of it. So we don't point the finger at each other and say, well, brother or sister so-and-so, why did this thing come at you? Were you thinking lascivious thoughts? No. You just say, hey, pray. But you need to pray against that, and you need to get rid of it, tie, bind, and rebuke it in the name of Christ and get rid of it because it doesn't need to be there. Because the day may come when it brings friends or enemies, and either one is not a good thing for you. So this Merc tells Grant, your friend's got a demon on him. I know, because he says he's got his own. He's a weirdo and whatever. I met people like this. They're just, forget about them. There's nothing you can do with them. They're blood-soaked. They waller in it. So he tells him, he says, what do you want me to do? And he looks at him and laughs and goes, I don't know. I don't give a shit what you do. I just thought I'd tell you. Then he just tips his hat and goes to sleep because he doesn't care. He cares about as much as your preacher. Not all your preachers. Now, some of you may have some good preachers. I've met a lot of them. But you have some that don't give a crap. And they prefer if you keep anything paranormal out of their church because it's of the devil, when in reality, they probably don't even believe that. They probably just say that because it's easier than explaining it and trying to figure out what you're supposed to do about it. You had an imp come out of your mirror or the closet? What? Oh, man. First of all, I don't believe that. Second of all, you're evil, and if you pay me enough, I might give you the time to tell you what I think you should do. So you pay them with your time and with your money and your energy, and then they tell you, pray about it and ignore it.
Also donate.
Thanks a lot, Pastor Jack. Once again, you have shown me the way. Thank you for shepherding me through the darkness. Thank you for being more close to Jesus than I could ever hope to be. And good thing you have an open line right there to him. Yes, you're right. I just got done talking to the J-Man, and he says, hey, have a good day. Stay blessed. Right? That's what they do. And then nothing happens. Nothing good, anyway. Just bad. So this is what happens to Grant. Grant goes back to the base. He ends up in Germany, and then he does something that he felt bad about. He turned his friend in. Him and his other friend said, hey, something's wrong with our buddy here. Ray is maniacal, crazy. It's like he's possessed. There was an incident with a grenade that he threw up in the air at the last second, and it blew up above them. Why would you do that? Why would you take that chance on almost killing you and your companions? Because something is wrong with you. So then he tells them, sometimes I feel like I'm running on autopilot, that my emotions aren't mine, and that my physical actions are not from me. I'm being controlled. Oh, well, there's a word for that. It's called possession. A milder form would be obsession. He's like, and then there was an incident. He's like, we're in the rec room at the base there. He's like, and get this. He's like, he gets mad over a game of dominoes, whips out a knife, holds a guy up against a wall, and they're like, dude. Fortunately for him, his friends talk the other guy out of doing anything, running and getting MPs involved. They take him back to the barracks, and they're like, what in the hell is wrong with you? And that's when he confesses all this crazy stuff. He says, I have something following me. He's like, and I can see it sometimes. The other day I was in the latrine, and I saw this thing behind me. It looks like a black entity with a hat. Very tall and slim. He wears this thing around his waist with a green lantern. So you can imagine there's these other two guys standing there, and they're like, Green Lantern? Yeah. Like the comic book, right? Who's going to believe that?
Yeah, exactly.
And this guy just gets more angry and punches one of them out, and then a brawl ensues, and here we go. But here's what's crazy, because the next day, one of those guys that he was fighting with, they were talking, and he says, hey, and was overheard by Grant. He says he was talking to Ray, and he tells him, he says, I saw something last night jump off of your back when we were fighting. It was black, like smoke, but it had eyes, red eyes. And there was a green glow at the bottom of its, whatever that was, smoke. He says, I believe you. So now they believe that there is something there, and it kind of confirms to his two closest friends that, yes, there is something wrong with this young man. What, we don't know. Well, they end up turning him in for a psych evaluation, which something they just did. They didn't turn him in for that, but yeah. So he goes to a psychiatrist, takes the evaluation. He's fine, other than he's got some emotional problems caused by the stress of combat. They send him back to the United States, and then he gets a discharge, and he's fine. Grant stays in, and he's in for another few years, and then he gets out. He says he gets a phone call one day out of the blue. Thank you for that donation, Shadow. We appreciate it. I'm not getting very many today, but that's fine. So he says, he's like, out of the blue, I get a call. He goes, nothing eventful was happening in my life. He's like, until Ray called me. He's like, and then on that very, very first phone call in a long time, he's like, I hear this voice talking, like it's trying to talk over Ray. He goes, and it's talking, I can understand it. It's talking in Arabic. And it's talking fast. I can't understand every word. So he hangs up, and he tells his, at that time, his fiance, he says, I don't know what the heck what just happened there. And his fiance, she's very in tune. He calls her in tune. I'm going to use that word. That's what he said. She said, she's like, I've been praying for you lately, and I knew that this was going to happen because the last couple of weeks, on 2 different occasions, I've seen a black entity. I didn't want to scare you because I know your history. And so this thing looked like it was moving around the room, kind of like a whirlwind, kind of moving around the room. She's like, and then it becomes like a man, and it's standing there at the foot of our bed, and it's looking at us, observing us. I can't see the face. It's just got red eyes. And he asked her, he's like, did it have a hat? She goes, no, it didn't have a hat. She's like, but I did see horns, like small horns. And so this is something that was relayed to him by what Ray claimed to have seen. He says, oh my goodness, and now this guy's calling me. Why? He says he thought about it for a couple of days. Thank you for that donation, Stanford. We appreciate it. He says, I thought about it for a couple of days, and I decided to call my friend. He answers the phone. He sounds distraught, and he says, hey, man. And they don't live that far from each other because he had moved back to the city where he was from. And he said, hey, let's meet up. We're only an hour and a half away from each other. Let's have dinner. So his friend says yes. And when they meet up, this guy's been going to therapy for 2.5 years. It hasn't done anything for him because he starts to figure out what it is and how to get rid of it. And then he goes to therapy, which breaks down and says, no, you need to take this medication because these are hallucinations. And what would be best for us is if you and everyone you know takes this medication. How about that? And he's just like, yeah, I don't think so. He's like, the medication dumbed me down and I didn't see it, but I still felt it and I was getting ill quite often. He's like, I would go to the gym, feel sick. He goes, I go to the tanning or the massage place, whatever, to get, my back worked on. He's like, and something comes out of my back and scares the hell out of the therapist, the massage therapist. Thank you for those donations. We appreciate it. He's like, this black smoke, and there was just residue on his back,
Ugh.
right? He's like, I go to the doctor. They do MRIs. They do all these different things. CAT scan. Oh, your brain's fine. You know? What's wrong with this guy, right? He meets somebody at a party, no less, just at a random get together, at a barbecue. His girlfriend's family, they had a barbecue, and this guy's a former soldier. He was in Afghanistan, and he told him, he goes, you have a gen on you. He's like, you have an attachment, brother. This guy's a black dude. He's from Louisiana, right? He said, we call it the haint. I've heard that before. And he says, I had to go and get it taken off of me. He's like, my wife, she's Hispanic. She's black and Hispanic. She's from the islands. He's like, and she said, you know, we got to do a cleanse. So they went to a curandera. This woman helped him get it off of him. But he said, it was only temporary. It helped me get my mind clear. But with my clarity, I was able to figure out, hey, I need to do something. He goes, have you tried Jesus? Ray's like, I have tried pills. He has tried various relationships that didn't amount to anything. Dated a witch, which seemed to make it worse. Tried Islam, didn't do anything. And then he tried taking more pills, different kinds, therapists, psychiatrists, and all of the above, groups for people with PTSD, and Alcoholics Anonymous, because he was drinking himself to death. And he says nothing worked. Not drinking, smoking, not smoking. None of it changed anything. He goes, I really, this guy says it. He says, I really doubted that Jesus was going to. He's like, yeah, I'd like not to. And this guy says, well, suit yourself. He was a friend of his future wife's family. You know, and he's like, well, here's my information. And he says, if you want that thing taken off, you're going to need some help. He said he goes home, get this, and this is one of the most craziest things ever. He said he got so mad for whatever reason. He was on his way home. He starts slapping the steering wheel that he runs off the road. And then he gets himself back on the road. This is what he's telling Grant. He says, and I nearly died. My car spun around because it had been raining. He's like, and then I stop and I sit in the parking lot for a minute in this grocery store and I smoke a cigarette. And then I said, you know what? I need to get high. He's like, so I try to go to this guy's house that sells weed. Couldn't get him to answer the door, so I got really pissed off. He's like, and I did something really stupid and crazy. I took his trash can and threw it through his window. He's like, and hopefully, you know, nothing comes of it. But, you know, this is what he's thinking, right? He drives home. He takes that guy's card. He goes into the bathroom, throws it in the sink after he douses it with alcohol, with booze, with vodka, and lights it on fire. He goes, but the weirdest thing happened. He's like, while I'm doing this, he's like, I realize, why am I doing this? I don't have anything in me to make me do this. He's like, and then I'm out of my body. And I'm watching my body go through the motions of doing this. And when I look at my eyes in the mirror, they're red. He's like, I was no longer in control of my bodily functions. He goes, I was spinning out. And this entity was just guzzling booze. And he said, at that point, Grant, he's like, we're eating. And I'm like, what do you mean the entity was guzzling booze? He goes, because I wasn't in my body anymore. This thing was taking over my body completely. He's like, that was it. I was done. I wasn't even a part of the equation anymore. He goes, I went outside of the house. I floated outside and I looked down of this 2-story townhome that I was staying in. He goes, and I float down to the bottom and this entity comes out. My body comes downstairs. It's controlling his body and walks into me, and I go back into my body, and then I'm able to see and hear. He's like, but night after night, I'm having paralysis. I can't move. And I see this entity just kind of sitting there looking at me at the foot of the bed. It's sitting on the bed looking at him like, what are you doing? He's like, I need help. So he tells Grant, he says, I am in the process of talking because he goes, I burned the guy's car. I lost contact with him. He said, my wife barely knew him. Then he was a friend of her cousin's. That's it. He said, so now I'm in the process of trying to reclaim myself from this entity. He said, and what I had to do was go to Christ. He said something interesting. This is something me and Grant talked about because Grant, when he went home that night, something terrible happened to him. He had a dream about his time in Iraq and Ramadi, and I'll tell you about it in a minute. But he said, this every time this guy tried to get himself clear of this thing or clear of any of this junk, something would happen. He would fall back into, by going to these therapists and people who did not care about him, psychiatrists. I'm not saying they're all like that because I've met some that are actually pretty good and helpful, but some of these, they're not helpful. They're not good. And so one of the things he did was he would literally start to get help, start to change, start to feel like, you know what, I'm going to try Jesus. I'm going to do, and then something would happen and somebody would tell him, no, you were on the right path already. You were already doing what you need to do. Keep doing that. And then he would end up veering off course and never accepting Christ. And then finally, his girlfriend's brother gets out of prison. And, there's a lot of people that judge people. They're from prison or whatever. They're convicts or whatever. And everybody's like, well, this is a guy who's been in prison, whatever. But there's a lot of decent people who have been to prison. They really are. Or they have criminal records. And for the record, I don't have a criminal record. Okay. Even though people have said that I do in the little videos, I don't. And that's also slander, defamation, big time. Because you're making a false statement. I don't have a criminal record at all. You don't pass a federal background check and work security here in Texas if you have a criminal record. But I'm not knocking people who do. But this guy, he had a bad past. He was a bad guy. Really bad guy. And so what happens? This guy, Raymond, his girlfriend, that's her brother. And he tells him, he says, first thing he says, he gets out of prison. He goes, have you heard the good news? He says, what is the good news? He goes, he is risen. And he hands him a little red New Testament Bible. They used to make those. It was just the New Testament. And it was the words of Christ that you needed to hear. He says, I took it and thought, what a loony. And I threw it in my nightstand. He goes, and then the next day I'm getting out of the shower and I see that thing run into the mirror and I'm thinking, this has got to stop. He's like, I'm sitting on my bed contemplating not being alive anymore. He's like, and so I said, you know what? Like, it can't hurt, I guess. So he starts reading the Bible, the little red Bible. It's like a partial Bible, whatever. And he says, I wanted to know more. I want to know more. He's like, I wanted to know more about this man that died 2,000 years ago named Jesus. Because he goes, at that time, I didn't look at him as anything but a man. I didn't look at him as a deity. I definitely didn't look at him as the Son of God. He's like, but I knew that he was real. And he goes, I saw a lot of soldiers that would pray and then they'd be gone. And I thought, what's the point? Now, here's my thing to him. I said, did you ever stop and think that at least when they passed, they went to where they were supposed to go? He said, no, I didn't really think about that. I just thought, why wouldn't God protect them? And I said, well, maybe God brought them home, ended the suffering. You don't know what's going on. Their time here is over, and this time could really be like a penance in some ways, a light one compared to what could be. He says, you're right. I didn't even think about that. He goes, but I just was sitting there and I called my girlfriend's brother, and my girlfriend's brother's girlfriend answered the phone. She's like, yeah, he's right here. He's like, he's a really high strung guy, you know, kind of annoying in some ways, but because he's so happy all the time. Guy was in prison for 3 years on this last stretch. Gets out and he's just like on fire for Christ. A Bible thumper, right? So much so that he goes around passing out. He goes, and at Halloween, you know what he does? He gives out those little mini Bibles, little mini verses to kids. The little New Testament, the little mini ones. He says he gives those away. He's like, he's one of those super Christians, annoying people, right? And he says, he goes, I talked to him. We talked for like an hour. And then he goes, and then we went and met and had some coffee. He goes, and his girlfriend's a really nice person. And she was really cool. And they took me to church. Now, they didn't go to a conventional church. They had church in their garage from her mom and dad's house. And they had about 22 people that would show up before they eventually got a building, because this guy's a preacher. And now he goes around to prisons and preaches to people, right? So Raymond meets this guy through his girlfriend, and they're all Christian. His girlfriend could use a little work, and she decides, hey, let's say the prayer together. They do the sinner's prayer, get saved, as we call it, and the rest is history. And then he goes, and every day is a struggle. Grant was able to help him. He says, let me tell you something. He said, since we've been sitting here having lunch, you've had 2 margaritas. He goes, do you drink still? He goes, on occasion. He's like, that's all it needs. On occasion. He says, if you stop, that will stop the spiritual openings, and more than likely, you know, he goes, I just put 2 and 2 together, man. He goes, I used to smoke a lot, you know, when I got out. I was smoking all the time. He's like, started having problems. That night, Grant goes home and has a nightmare about Ramadi. And he says, this is how it ended with Ramadi. Eventually, the sheiks, there were these tribal sheiks, right? And the military went to them to build an alliance with them because they knew the people there. The problem was that the insurgents were being really, really rough with the people because they weren't picking up guns and killing every American they saw. And so they started to rough up the people. The incels started to rough up the people. ISIL was becoming more and more antagonistic. And Al-Qaeda doesn't like to deal with people who won't just do whatever they say. So they were shooting people left and right. Then they took one of the elder sheiks, one of the tribal sheiks. They took his son and they roughed him up and killed him. That didn't sit well with him. So he talked to the others and said, we need to do something, because these Al-Qaeda, who a lot of them aren't, like I said, they're not even actually Iraqi. They're just from somewhere else. He says, we got to get rid of these people, these fanatics. So they built an alliance with the Americans, and they turned the tide. They helped to get rid of these people, get them out of there. Enough is enough. Enough of this crap. And they did it a couple different occasions, because you don't have the manpower to just lay down on there forever. You have to eventually pull out. And as soon as you pull out, eventually these fanatics will come back and do this crap again. And if those people don't go along with it, what do? Well, they do stupid things. They start hurting people, and then they piss people off, and they hurt people along tribal lines. And that's the worst thing you can do, because then it's a family affair and it never ends. The sheiks in that region too, their bloodlines, they were the ruling class at one time when everybody was a Bedouin. So they don't look at these warlords coming from other lands to help as their friends. And they don't like sharing space. So you better play ball with them, or you're going to have problems. The Americans did the best they could to appease these people, which actually worked out in their favor, eventually getting rid of Al-Qaeda there. The dream that Grant had was that he was being driven out of Ramadi. He was leaving, and they were pulling out, and they had won, and everything was great. And he's like, and he goes, it's nothing like what happened to me in real life. He's like, but I'm in a Humvee and I just feel this, like, I hear this whiz, which is a bullet. He's like, and then I feel this pain. He's like, and I get shot at the base of my neck, and this pain goes all the way up, and I goes, and all I see is blood go up into my eyes. He's like, and I fall over. He's like, and then I'm outside of the Humvee watching my body. That eventually the soldiers in the Humvee just kick my body out into the road. He's like, and then I see these black dogs with like weird tails. He's like, it was weird. Their tails were like split in half. He's like, it was weird, dude. They came up and they started eating me. He goes, and I'm just going like, he's like, and then I look across the road. There's this demon standing there with this, that looks like, now Grant got a very good look at this demon in the dream. And what he said, he goes, it has to be the same thing that Raymond was experiencing. He said it looked like a cloak, kind of like a priest with like a Zorro hat on his head. He's like, and then he had a thing around his waist and a small little glowing something, which Raymond had described from seeing it up close. Looks like a lantern glowing green. And he said that this thing was just there hovering. He's like, and it's watching me. He goes, it's got its hands up. He goes, you could see these gnarly looking fingernails. He goes, it was evil. And there was just red eyes. He's like, and I could smell like death coming off of it. He goes, it was terrible. He's like, and so I'm sitting there. He goes, and I'm just, I'm like, what in the heck is going on? He's like, and then I wake up. He goes, and I'm in this like just cold sweat. I get up and I'm just jumping up off the bed. Hadn't had a war dream in a long time. And his wife is like, what the heck what's going on, honey? He's like, I don't know. So he calls Raymond and then they pray. He's like, and over the course of the next couple of months, he goes, I got to know his girlfriend and his girlfriend's brother and his wife and his parents even. And we did some revival and we went to back and forth. And he goes, and we prayed and we prayed and we helped Raymond get over this thing. He goes, and I knew that this thing was real. He's like, the night that he was laying on his stomach in the bed and everybody was praying on him, he said this thing came up out of his back like a smoke, a black smoke, and like a snake went into the mirror. Here's the funny thing about that. I said, because for some reason when he said that, I was like, the mirror? And I don't know why I even stopped and said it like that, but one of the things he told me, he's like, well, it wasn't really a mirror. You know what it was? It was a turned off television.
Black Mirror.
Mm-hmm. And I told Grant, I said, well, that's a black mirror. I was like, have you ever heard of scrying? He goes, no. I told him what it was and how it works. And I said, this is what it's a black mirror. So, hey, you grab me one of the cans. So this is what ended up happening. He was delivered by the faith and power of not only himself, but those around him. And this is his story. And he brought something back. Now, what aggravates me and what I've always felt aggravating is something will happen and you'll tell somebody something. And like I said, they'll learn something from you and then they get aggravated. And then they always go back and they find somebody. Whoops, sorry about that. They always go back and they find somebody to counter what you said to them because what you said to them, they don't want to have to deal with. They'll run back to their previous belief and find something or someone to reaffirm that and resent you. They'll resent you for teaching them something different, no matter how true it is. It's a sad thing, isn't it? Now, I know the way I tell the stories sometimes is not orthodox, not necessarily like, once upon a time, blah, blah, blah. And the first part of this show was me telling you my opinion and what I think of a lot of this stuff and giving you a brief history, which you may not like, you may not agree with. But one thing I can tell you is I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it's this or that, whatever, and skirt around it. You just tell the truth. There's a myth that colonialism is just something that a bunch of white people did. That's not true. They did it. Absolutely, they did it. But everyone did it. There's a myth that they're the only ones that own slaves. That's not true either. They did it. Absolutely. But so did everybody else. The Fulani enslaved so many people, in fact, that they sold them in Zanzibar in the markets to the Arabs, who sold them to Sephardic Jewish people, who sold them to European colonists. But they also sold them to the Portuguese. The Portuguese were big time slavers. And 2/3 of the slaves actually that left Zanzibar, the port of Zanzibar and Tripoli, which is in North Africa, by the way, it ended up in guess what? Brazil. There were more slaves in Brazil, but get this, the Portuguese were so brutal. They were so brutal to their slaves that in the end, there ended up being more black people in the North American continent than there was in the South American continent, even though it doesn't make sense, right? 2/3 of them went to South America. So how did that work? How does that work? Well, because they killed more of their slaves by working them to death. So the slaves in North America were treated a lot better. Doesn't say much. It just means that they were treated more like, cattle that you cared about. Doesn't mean that they were good. I mean, that's not what I'm saying. I'm not trying to be like, well, it's actually okay because they treated them better. Slaves are slaves. But the Portuguese were so brutal, they didn't even look at them as anything but pack animals. And then when they died, you just got more. They were cheap. The more you bought, the better it was. The Fulani, the Africans, they're black people from Nigeria, sold them in such mass quantities because the people that they conquered, they would sell them. And the Arabs sold them to the Jews, and the Jews sold them to the white people, the Europeans. Just saying that sounds really bad because certain groups of people, like all of the ones I just mentioned, don't want to be included in all of that history. So they're like, oh man, why do you got to say it like that? Because it's the truth. That's what really happened. You want me to tell you that it didn't? You want to feel better about it? People like to hear what they want to hear. Now, think about what I said. They like it. They like to hear what they want to hear. When they want to hear something, and then somebody tells them what they want to hear, they like it. They're like, yeah, I like this. This is, guys, tell me what I want to hear. When somebody tells you what you've been taught is not correct, you can go and try to find some kind of Google search or something maybe that'll back up what you want to believe. Because there's always somebody that'll say something, but do the deep diving. And when you read a book or you read a paper or a whatever, look at the name of the person that's writing it and think about this. If this is an indictment on, let's just use like the Dutch for being a part of the slave trade, well, maybe Van Horn isn't the kind of person that should be telling you the history of that. Because Van, although it's can be a last name in and of itself, Van such and such is typically Dutch. Von such and such is typically German. So if Van so and so is telling you the Dutch had nothing to do with that, and then they write up a big old thing about it with a bunch of mental gymnastics, maybe they're not the people to hear the story from. And then there's other people who have a vested interest in keeping it, whatever, slanted, whether it's to the left or the right. They're like, oh, no. Let's let's tell the story from a politically nuanced slant, right? so that we can get our narrative across, our weird ass narrative, whatever that is. There are certain issues I have, everybody knows this, with the left, and there are certain issues I have with the right, and not everybody may know this. But the right has two issues in particular that I cannot stand, and I'm not going to mention them tonight on the show because this is not what we're here for. But there are things that they just want to hang on to like they're binky, and it's like, dude, grow the hell up. Stop believing and cohorting with people who have your best interest nowhere near good. Nothing. So that's my opinion on that. That's my take on that. And most recently it happened to me. I said something about, after the Kirk assassination. Oh, is that what we're calling it? We're not calling it that, because this is what it was. It was assassination. When they murdered him, and I told them, I said, this was the work of, and I'd give my opinion. Well, they had to go run and figure out a way to not believe that. So they asked me, and I was like, you want to know? Because I know how you believe, and if I tell you what the truth is, you're not going to like it. Well, I believe you about a lot of things, but not about this. Fair enough, Ricky Bobby, you don't want to hear it. I believe in the baby Jesus. Oh, yeah, that's what I like. When he's little and he can't talk. So Ricky Bobby goes back and hears from his preacher and his wife, and he's like, oh. Baby Jesus said, that ain't what happened. No. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you know what I'm saying. Yep. You're up there blaspheming. That's what you're doing. You're talking against God. The holy God from the Old Testament is angry. He's angry. He's gonna get you, boy. Don't be talking about like that. Don't be trying to say what happened. That's what he did. And I said, this is exactly why I didn't tell you. About a week later, a bunch of people are coming out and saying what I said from the beginning, and they're shouting it from the rooftops. And I'm like, so yesterday he messages me, and then he tells me, he says, I just want you to know that even if you were right, I don't accept it. And he blocked me. This is somebody I've known for like a long time. That's not the first time he's blocked me either. He'll unblock me. He blocks me the other week. I tried to get him to stop drinking. He blocked me. He's like, Jesus turned water into wine. Why did he turn water into wine? Because he wanted to drink it. That's what he did. He turned water. They weren't drinking Zimas over there. They were drinking wine. So I'm just like, look, man, believe what you want. Do what you want. Say what you want. I don't care. You can say whatever you want until the blood comes out of your ears. It doesn't make it true. I said, the baby Jesus grew up, right? Became grown-up Jesus. And did what he had to do. And I told him, I said, Charlie Kirk was assassinated. I told you how it happened. I also said that I knew that it was probably going to happen before if he didn't do what they wanted him to do. He didn't do it. Somebody had asked me this about another person. I'm not going to get into details. I said, everybody that dies that's in the public eye, you need to take a hard look at these people. There was a geneticist that died in Toronto. I don't know if people know about that. Because you probably just use Uncle to look at stuff, right? And he shot himself twice in the back of the head. That is an amazing trick. That is like an amazing freaking trick. If you can not only shoot yourself in the back of the head, but then you did it twice and then died in front of your apartment, and nobody heard anything. That was another amazing trick. He had neighbors that were just right there, and they were just like, I don't know. I was watching the Blue Jays, and he's this old feller here, he's dead. I don't know what to think. It's a weird thing, I'm just, here I'm with the Blue Jays, and then, death. I don't know. It's a weird thing. I don't know how this happened. It was some kind of, I don't know. So those kinds of things happen, just like these things happen in war. And remember, there's always an underlying story, because the Crusades didn't happen because they cared about the pilgrims going to Jerusalem. Let's be honest. I'm pretty sure that the Bush administration didn't give a crap about weapons of mass destruction. Or wasn't it supposed to be Osama that did all this stuff? And then we were, it was Afghanistan. Why were we over there? Why were we in Iraq? You want to know why? I'm going to tell you the bitter truth. Here is the literally behind the scenes meeting of these neocon warhawks. I can almost tell you exactly what happened. They're explaining to Bush, because he only has 2 IQ points, and they're like, if we say that people in the Middle East have weapons and that it has something to do with 9/11, and we tie it all together, we would not only help ourselves, but a particular country that we do everything for down there, and those other 2 countries that kiss that country's ass, that we do everything for them too. So, we're getting paid by them to do this. So it is in our best interest to create a narrative. But we also, because we don't want to waste movement. Wake up, sir. Are you listening to me? Huh? What's going on? Huh? What? I was dreaming I was floating in space. A man that can't be fooled again. What happened? What are you doing? Who are you? Where am I? Sir, you're in the Oval Office. We're talking about what's going on in the Middle East. Yes, the Middle East, over there in China. What country is that? The Middle East is a region. No, I mean China. What country is that? Where's that from? Is that from Europe? No, we sir, open up the picture book. Open up the picture book on your desk. The little golden book. He's like this. This? What is this? No, sir, it is a book. It has words and letters on it. You understand, sir? I think I saw those in college. I was with the Skull and Bones. They had somebody that would read those to me. I don't know what they were babbling about. I didn't do any schoolwork. They did it for me. I told you, I'm a man that can't be fooled again. What is this? Cheney's like over there with his cigar. I'll take over from here. You can leave the room, Junior. And he walks up to the, he says, he looks at everybody in the room and he's like, someday I'm going to have a hunting accident with one of you.
And you'll apologize to me for it.
You will be sorry for making me shoot you in the face. Everybody's like, imagine those guys with the gray uniforms, the admirals that everybody's getting choked out in Empire Strikes Back.
Mm-hmm.
That's these guys. What is this? Admiral Piet, Admiral Viet, whatever his name is, Admiral something. Cheney's like, Bush calls him, put him down, Vader. I might need him later. The Force, the dark side of the Force, is literally this group of people that runs everything. They're over there basically manipulating everything. And so that's how it worked. And he says, so we don't waste movement. Let's kill 2 birds with one stone. In fact, let's kill a dozen with one warhead. Let's do this. We have all this nuclear waste. Let's use it. Because you know what it does? It punches through armor. Did you know that? Dude, look it up, man. The degraded uranium. Mm-hmm. People don't know what that is or what that does. You have no clue. That stuff, they used it in Iraq. You think I'm playing? birth defects for generations. They destroyed it in a way that you could never rebuild. They'll never be a power again. Babylon has fallen. But the true Mystery Babylon is a different place. Right? Because in the New Testament, yes, depleted, Alan, but let's not say the whole thing together. The true Mystery Babylon is not who you think it is. Let me tell you something. The revelation has already been told. Now, I know through the CERN and the, what is it called? The Mandela effect. It's called revelation now, right? It might be called something else tomorrow. I saw a Mandela effect took place right in front of me. There's this curtain that my wife has in the bathroom. I don't like it. It's weird. It's got birds all over it. So this morning I was looking at it and I thought it's changed, because last night when I saw it, it looked completely different. It had these 4 gold dust sparkly spots and then a different bird that looked completely different than all the other birds. They were just repeating patterns. I noticed it. And then today when I looked, that was gone. I said, wow. So maybe I was just hallucinating. Maybe I'm just that Looney Tune. No, I'm not. Because they mess with things. They mess with things. That's what they do. So today it's Revelation. Tomorrow will be Revelations. And then they'll go, oh, it was Revelations all along. But no, for a little while it was Revelation. No, it wasn't. You're crazy. So make sure you tell people when you see these things. Because there are literally people that are so stupid. My friend, her name's Anna. She's on my Facebook. She posted something about the Mandela effect. And you know what this one lady said? Let me read it to you. Let me see if I can find it here. You can laugh. Let's see if I can find it. It's hilarious. The people are this. There it is right here. And it has to do with the cornucopia. This thing right here. You see it? But this is what Fruit of the Loom claimed that they really did make. Man, you tripping fool. Believe me, I know that's a lie. Believe me. Okay, I know what my underwear, I used to wear them. Well, I still wear underwear, but not necessarily Fruit of the Loom. But here's what it says here. This woman, the second woman on there, says, this was never a basket in the logo. There was never a basket in the logo. The Fruit of the Loom was always fruit. These are false memories caused by the internet.
God.
My good friend's husband is that way. He is a dumb shit. I'm not going to say his last name. But his name is Chris. I'll just say his first name. He's an idiot. He's a dumbass. She is a smart person, but she is with an automaton. He argued with me about the Mandela effect one night, and he argued with me about the moon landing and everything else. He's like, this really happened. There is no Mandela. Like, he's like a robot, like an automaton. If you give him something that's actually true, he'll go and do mental gymnastics for 8 days and then figure out a way and get somebody to go blah, blah, blah. It's not, no. I went to this obscure website and it told me the truth. Steenenberg.com. It told me what was real. I called up Al Qaeda and I asked them. They told me that there is statistically nobody ever was getting their head taken off by them. Never happened. The only time that ever happened was when Americans dressed up as them and did it. See, that's the thing. If you want your side to be heard or believed, go find the bullshit that's going to support your side.
Get your facts from the Cuban Ministry of Truth.
Exactly. Communism is not a bad thing, my friend.
There is no crime here.
There is no crime in paradise. Look around you in Cuba. Look at all the 1950s vehicles they're driving around, and they still at work.
We're keeping it traditional in Cuba.
Stay thirsty, my friends. Everybody's walking around like, hey, way ahead of you. We got no water, no food. The guy's like, yes, stay hungry too. Exactly. So maybe you should get your information from the people that actually are in the business of doing what's right and getting you the truth, not just regurgitating and telling you fantasies that are going to support their BS. Right? Why is that so hard? I don't know. Joel says I sound like Dr. Doom. So now you're turning me into the what does he call his country? What's it called? Lavaria? Not Lavaria.
I don't know. I'm the wrong guy to ask.
Latveria? I think it's called Latveria. Well, look it up. I'm curious. He'll be back in an hour. But yeah, it's called Latveria or something like that. Some make-believe small country. It sounds like a Baltic country. No, I'm not a dictator of a small country, but yeah, to be Latvia is the real country, not Latvia, but it's called Latveria or something like that. Like it's a made up country.
Yeah, it's Latveria.
Mm-hmm. See, Joel, you're wrong. No, Latvia is the real country. It's called Latveria. They make like it's supposed to be that country, or because there's Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia, Belarus are all kind of right there together, and they're all a little slightly different ethnically, but not much. It's the Baltics, not to be confused with the Balkans. The Balkans is Serbo-Croatic. Macedonia, Serbia, Croatia, usually Yugoslavia. What were the other countries there? The one where everybody was fighting in Bosnia, Herzegovina. So that is the Balkans. Now you have like Armenia. You have like different countries that are like ethnic minorities. They have their own country now. Albania, because the Albanians and the Armenians used to not have a country. You know why? Because they were part of the Ottoman Empire. The Ottoman Empire says, you don't need a country. You just do what we say. Like the Soviet Union. And they're allies. They're forced allies. We're allies. And like, yeah, sure, whatever you say. Yeah, right, we're allies. Tell me, we're allies, right, comrade? I invade you. I'm like, okay, all right. Yeah. Yes, we love you. We love this. Gorbachev is a great guy. He's awesome. We love the everything. They look over. The guy's got the gun off camera. Like the food is great. They treat us good. I've gained 2 pounds in the last year getting fat. This guy's like, underweight, about 40, 50 pounds. Gotta lie. Communism is great. Nothing, no crime ever. Go look it up. It's the number, don't lie. That's what people do. I notice that, especially from one side. They will look up the obscurest, most ridiculous, and then post it and say that's the real whatever, when there's 90 other people out of 100 saying something completely different. You know what's crazy is I've argued with people about communism. But you know what? In my entire life, 50 years of living, I've only met one person. One person. No, I take that back. I met a Polish guy. Two people in my whole life that lived under communism for the bulk of their lives and said they enjoyed it. You know who they were, though? One of them was an Olympic athlete that got preferential treatment. Right. Mm-hmm. The other one, dad, was high up in the Communist Party. The other 98 out of 100 people are going to tell you it sucks and that the F in communism stands for food. Well, there is no F in communism. Exactly. There's no food either, is there? obviously.
Stands for freedom too.
Also stands for freedom. It also stands for fun. It also stands for flight risk. Go sit down. In Russia, parties stand behind you. Exactly. That's what happens. You don't stand up for your party. The party stands behind you with a gun at your back, telling you what to say. So these soldiers come back from the glorious Crusades, right? Wrapped in gin. I don't mean the gin bottle either. Well, yeah, that too. And then they get some therapist that says, I am a kind lady. I am a caricature of Barbara Streisand. Just so you know, this is jokes for entertainment purposes only. What you need to do is take a lot of Prozac. That will help you. And then for the hallucinations, those aren't real. Goodbye. It's a good thing I talked to Barbara. She straightened it out for me. My therapist. She told me. It's not real, man. So, yeah. Some of the things that you hear about from people who were involved in these wars and in these places, like the former Soviet Union, will never hear the light of day on the mainstream media. Never. Because it doesn't fit the narrative. It doesn't tell the story of what really went on. It doesn't tell you. There are people in World War II, World War One even, and no longer around, but in World War One, World War II, and every war since then that will tell you things that happened, things that went on, and the evil of men. And you will hear very, very little of it. Because if you did hear the truth, well, that could be very dangerous. And the governments of the world don't want that. We can't have you running around. You might hurt yourself with that knowledge. You might get hurt. Because we might hurt you. That's what they're basically saying. This could put your eye out. What they're telling you is that it's dangerous because knowledge, even though Jesus tells us, knowledge is power. And Jesus tells us, he says, you, my people, die for lack of knowledge. So why is it that they suppress knowledge and try to hide it from us? If Jesus told us that it's a good thing and that we should be seeking it out. Why did communism suppress knowledge so vehemently? Why was there such a push to suppress the truth and to lie about everything, anything and everything? The more knowledge we had and have, the more we can learn, the more we can combat the powers that be, the principalities in high places that are a dual nature of man and demon. What do you think? Suppression of mankind. What is the number one thing that they suppress? That's knowledge. Why do you think in all these countries they get the news and it's just like slanted, just complete control of the media? They control the media. I think it's funny. I saw a political cartoon the other day, and they had Trump suppressing the media. Do you know how many levels down the ladder Trump is? Do you realize that? He could make peace all day, and there are two things that will happen. Number one is Israel will go out and they will do something and then say Hamas did it. The second thing is Hamas will go out and do something and then say Israel did it. And I'm not trying to be non-biased here. I think one is way worse than the other. I'm not going to say it, but I'm going to tell you, they do it. And that's what they've already done. So Trump can make peace all day. And I solved world peace. I did it. It was me. I'm going to be honest. I'm a very peace-solving guy. I solve peas and carrots, and I solve them all celery. I'm good with it. I can make an entire stew. I'm very peaceful. I like peas. I got to tell you. I visualized swirled peas, and it happened. I did. It did. I put my finger in a bowl, and they just swirled all over the place. They swirled into another galaxy. I made another galaxy when I was doing. I'm a very humble guy. Epstein, there are no files. Please stop. The people that control that part of the world, I can't control them. I can't. If I keep talking about it, they're gonna something could happen, probably to me, because I honestly don't have the power you think I do. And the stupid people, it goes beyond. As I saw somebody talking, about the Trump, saw, and it was free Palestine, Then it's like, so they're free now? Huh.
Damn. I didn't think this through.
I didn't see that coming. The Cheeto man did it.
What am I supposed to do now?
Like one of them was like, with his shawl on his face, like a Jin. Well, we could get jobs. Get away from me. I got to call my boss. Get away from me. He calls his boss. He's like, yes, George? George? Yeah, hello? No, not that one. Yes, speaking. Yes, Mr. Soros, we have a problem. We have a big problem. Trump just, he made some kind of peace or whatever. Soros is like, don't worry about that. Don't worry. I wasn't a Nazi communist for nothing. He fought for both. He was like, whoever pays me. It's like Death Row Records. Germans and the Russians, they pay me, And every year his eyes got more, let's just say, a little different. Not like you and I, who have normal eyes. His face is melting off of his reptilian shell, is coming off of his reptilian.
He's shedding.
He's molting.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens, right? I'll tell you. Here's what he does. He says, okay, so he calls up Bibi. Here's Bibi. I'm sorry, I was channeling Moloch. How are you doing, Soros? Oh, it's you, yes. Okay, so I'll talk normal. Okay, I won three-way with the Saudi prince. He's like, I'm just eating some woman's thighs. We don't. We only use women to make babies. It's all men's here. Very hot in the desert. How are you doing, my friends? I am so glad we could be in this cabal of the devil together. Man of communist in Europe and man of synagogue of Satan. How are we doing today? Three-way, huh? How many people died today that we need to make for the blood sacrifice? We're going to start this back up. I've got some Hamas on the payroll. They will start something. I gave them rockets to shoot at us. We will kill them all. Hold on, get a call. Hold on, there's a call coming. Shit, this little shit. Yes, what are you doing? Hey guys, it's me, Zelensky. I just wanted to know. We're being the shit out of us. They're bombing the shit. It is the bomb is the shit. What do you want me to do? The Saudi. Oh, you are a comedian. You are beloved by my people because I forced them with a scimitar to laugh at your jokes. You are such a funny man. Gay little funny man. Be funny. Like Rob Schneider or Rob Reiner or some other synagogue of Satan guy's name. My apologies to Schneider. I think he's changed, but it's whatever. I'm just giving my humble opinion while I snack on this woman. We eat women here. They look at me sideways. I kill. Soros is like, am I needed here? Asmodeus is asking me to talk to him. And Bibby's like, yes, go ahead. You can leave. Even on the phone call, he smells like sulfur. And they laugh, because nobody could smell more like sulfur than you, my friend. No, for real, he does. He smells bad. Mm-hmm. You thought Bush was bad. No. Cheney. No, this guy. He's practically the devil himself. I'm just the minor devil. Mm-hmm. The super devil. That's the super devil for there in Europe. Right? So then he says, look, what we got to do is make them fight. They have to kill each other. We must make them destroy each other. Zelensky's like, well, I'm confused. I thought I was already, who am I fighting? What? Huh? You stupid little comedian. Let me tell you something. Keep Putin busy. We don't want the bear breathing down our necks. Make sure, Mr. Saudi, that you do your job and pay these other countries. And we keep you in power. Good day. Meanwhile, Trump's like, I'm so glad that I'm in control of the world. I rule the world. I really do. I was just talking to Malak and Asmodeus the other day, and I told them, bitch, get out of here. I'm in charge now. And they ran. They ran away. They fled. Their little bat wings flirping, whatever. They took off. I think they live in the castle. It looks kind of like that right there. Do you see that? That's Pennsylvania. It's one of those Vanias. It's there. Then you have the dumbasses who don't work, who riot and whatever. And they're like, Trump, Trump. Free Palestine. That's what we're doing now. It's the flavor of the week. Right? But not really, because, we don't care. They go into the Starbucks and they're like, Free Palestine. And the person in charge in there says, hey. My grandfather's Jewish. What are you? Oh, okay. Well, no, it's cool. I like you. I just like the military ones, the ones that are the military.
Maybe we don't free Palestine that much.
We don't want to free it that much.
Yeah.
We want our Frappuccino.
You want to go overboard.
As soon as they get their Frappuccino, they're like 2 sips. Time to be back protesting. Got some coffee in me. Jews are evil, except for the guy that sold me the Frappuccino. His grandfather died in World War II. It was horrible. Those people were evil that did that. Then you're going like, well, how does that work? What was this people that were being supposedly killed, and then they go to Palestine, take it over? I'm going to be Moshe Dayan for Halloween.
Mm-hmm. iPad.
He was so evil. They're like, this is Israel's favorite son. You're like, oh, goodness.
He looked like a Cobra villain. Dude.
He was horrible. He looked like Major Blood. Yeah. You know, Major Blood was based on that guy.
It doesn't surprise me.
So, but then, before he died, he spoke out. Something magical happened. And Moshe said, hey, and I can only imagine how it happened. And it had a patch on it. Hey, I was just thinking, maybe we stop building these damn settlements over there. Oh, we don't have so many fucking problems with these damn freaking camel people. Sharon looks over and goes, what are you talking about? The smoke coming from him, like, what are you talking about? I think you've turned the corner, Moshe. 2 days later, he's eating some raspberries. What's on? As the Middle East burns. Oh, my favorite show. No. Today we honor a true hero, Oh, he did some great things for Israel. The USS Liberty, that was a big one. Yeah. But then he kind of got a little weird at the end there. Not gonna lie. Like giving Palestine rights and things like this. It was just weird. I don't know what the hell he was talking about. He had to go away. And then Sharon even, he pissed Bibi off. Sharon's like, I'm really fat, I'm old, I'm evil. What if the Goyim are correct and there really is a hell? What? There's no hell. Are you crazy? No hell. But what if, I'm just saying, we've been really hard on these people. Maybe we should just let them have a little something, you know what I'm saying? And then he's like, stroke. Look at Yitzhak Rabin. Let's make peace. Bang, bang. Bang, fire, bang. That's it for you.
Yeah.
Right there on the steps, too. They just run up and do it. Boom, boom, like that. Kind of like the guy in Toronto. He just said, you pulled the trigger twice. That's how I want to go out. That's how I'm going out. Get to my hat. 2 shots in the back. Bam, bam. Like, what the fuck? How does it even happen?
Must have had a lightning fast trigger finger.
Man, I'm telling you. Trigger.
Mm-hmm.
Of course. That's the name of his horse. He was so fast. He's like Roy Rogers. He said, bam. Before the bullet even knew what it was doing, he was screaming at him. Ah! There was another one behind it. He's going, wow, there's 2 of us. This is what they want you to believe. They want you to believe this crazy bullshit. And these goofy Saudis don't ever go there to work. They will literally get people from other countries to come and work because they don't believe in working themselves. And then they will hack them to death in the middle of the street, and no one does a damn thing. There's videos of it. I'm not even joking. And they don't, only the people at the top have women. The men there, like they don't associate with women at all.
No.
They chase each other around. I'm not even joking, dude.
Yeah.
Because women are just for procreating. Yeah, make sexy time. Yeah, they make sexy time, all right. And that's their buddies. They're all buddies over there. They're all friends. They're friends. You know that show, Friends? They show the Saudi prince. Hey, baby, Netanyahu. We're all hanging out. One of them's wearing a big white skirt. I can't stand those people. They make me sick. You can look at them and see they smell. I mean, both of them, too. It's very hot here. Very hot. I remember one time I was watching a thing with what's that guy? He used to be the prime minister. Was it not Shimon? What was his name? Ehud Barak. And
Mubarak?
No, Ehud Barak. Okay. He was the prime minister of Israel, and he was being interviewed. It's like 20 years ago. And they said, Ehud, what are you going to do about these settlements and this? He's like, I have to go. It's very hot here. It's very hot. Not as hot as when I pass. It will be really, really hot, but it's very hot. I can't answer these questions. I don't know what these people are going to do, but they need to do something. Maybe go not live. Be best solution, right? And he's one of the nice ones. He was a moderate. But he wasn't too moderate because when Rabin tried it, Rabin, they got him, boy. They poor guy. He was a good one.
Yeah.
They murdered the hell out of him, boy. Kind of like what they did to Kennedy, right? Both Kennedys, right? Same thing. They murdered the shit out of them. And then years later, they asked Sirhan's this relative of his daughter or something, and she was just like, he had no political affiliation. Why would he go and he would kill RFK? For the same reason that Osama bin Laden was somehow friends with Saddam Hussein. And they were all hiding weapons of mass destruction down in the basement of the Alamo. Welcome to the real reality. This is the donkey show, the elephant show that they tell you, 2 elephant, 2 donkey. It's what we do. We hide. We play trick on you. And still people buy into it. And people sit there and they go along with it. And they listen to people that call themselves preachers that are liars, dude. They're absolute liars, man. Well, my preacher said that bless them and you get blessed. Otherwise, you go to hell. You go to hell and you die. Your preacher's full of shit, man. You should be actually listening to the words of Christ. Why don't you open up the New Testament and read what it says? And I'm not even going to start quoting, read Galatians. Take a look. What does it say? You tell me. There is some ridiculousness going on here. Ridiculousness, dude. I'm telling you. And look at Islam. Take a look at that religion, dude, and you tell me. I'm not going to knock it. I'm not going to say anything about Judaism as a religion or Islam as a religion other than I don't agree with anything that they do or say. I have friends that are, I have both. Friends that are both. Like, not friends that are both, but from both groups. And if it doesn't, to me, and I'm going to say this, if it doesn't have Christ, I don't care. I do not care. I don't agree with it. But we are supposed to turn a blind eye to all this stuff. What about all this Christian destruction going on? The Orthodox and Catholic churches being attacked by the IDF. What is that? Why are they doing that? And you're going to ask yourself, why would our greatest ally attack Christianity? Have you seen the videos of them spitting when Christians walk by? Are you kidding me? And one of my friends is Jewish. He sent me the video. I told him too. I said, I don't need to see this, right?
Yeah.
It's not like you're converting me to anything, whatever. I mean, he's trying to make me understand how they are down there, whatever, because he spoke out and got threatened a long time ago. So, yeah, so it's one of those things, and he wasn't threatened by the government. He was threatened by some Looney Tunes, but he said, enough of this. I'm not taking chances. But he told me, he's like, this is what they're doing. Now, in my opinion, he's a little too left for me, like as far as his beliefs are. But hardlining one way or the other, not always a good thing. But I'm telling you the truth. And if you think that you could go to one of these Muslim countries and that you would just be perfectly fine, no. For multiple reasons. I would not go to the Holy Land. I would not go to Israel, and I would not go to any of these Arab countries. Do you know why? Because they're dangerous as hell. Okay? Very dangerous. And another reason is because you could get a serious attachment. Do you know what I mean when I say that? When I say you could get an attachment, I'm not playing. I'm not joking around. So that's what happens. And so they send our soldiers over there to these godforsaken places like Babylon. Now they want to send them to Persia. Yeah, that's great. That's awesome. Let's go do that now. Let's go play around with whatever they got over there, and let's bring more crap back with us. Let's ruin more people's lives. This guy tonight, he was this close to ending his life. He asked me a serious question. He said, if I would have been successful, not having been in Christ, what do you think would have happened to me? He goes, I would have gone to hell, huh? I said, not necessarily. You might have just ended up as that slave of that being for a while. Your soul may have been used as currency. And when you've suffered and suffered and suffered, you get tossed into the abyss. And maybe by the grace of God, you get pulled out. Or maybe you end up in the lake of fire in the torment after you get torn apart by everything else. Sounds horrible, doesn't it? Because the truth is the truth. Not only does the abyss and multiple levels of hell exist, but so does a hellish purgatory for people who can't really make it to that next tier. But do you realize something? We actually ourselves have control of our own destiny. God is merciful. Everybody's like, why would he send you there? It's a purification. You are being smith to return back to the source. That's what you want to do. So if you end up blown off course, it's not the end of the end, but it could be. The people who are going to go to hell are not people who have love in their heart and actually do care and repent. Let's put it this way: the people who are going to stay in hell. But that's a conversation for another day. I'm going to stop for now and just give you something to think about. Because if you don't forgive, even those that attack you and persecute you daily, and I have people, believe me, I know about being persecuted daily. I'm persecuted daily. You think I'm joking? Not only with the horrible messages I get every day telling me to go drink Drano and things like that. No, I got people making videos about me every day just talking crap because they got nothing better to do with their lives, which is kind of sad, really. It's really sad. These are people who have nothing else going on. I couldn't imagine having that kind of time. I couldn't imagine what I could do with that kind of time. I can do a lot of things with the time I have. A lot of research, a lot of talking, a lot of like learning and teaching you. But instead, these people, they choose to just do stupid things. These are the people that watched Romper Room and drank too many juice boxes when they were children. They were spoiled. My dad came home and I was watching Sesame Street. He'd be like, you're old enough to watch TV and look at it and learn. You can go out and cut the grass. You can go out and do this and do that. Go pull weeds. Go do this. Go do. There's always something to do. Always. There's one of those people. There's always something to do. It's not fun. I'm going to make sure that there's a lot of things to do that aren't fun. His dad and his uncle were the same way. His uncles, they're all the same way. Same as how you were raised, right? That's what people do. And so the cycle just continues and continues and continues until you break it. You know what I always say? Things are the way they are until they're not. I tell people that every day. And people tell me all the time, they're like, this world's so evil. How can we do that? How can we do blah, blah, blah? I was like, things are the way they are until they're not. I played on a baseball team when I was in Babe Ruth League. And it kind of sucked at first because the team that I played for had won one game the year before. They won one game. And it was the same team, but with two better pitchers and two better hitters. So you had four people that were different. And I'll never forget this. I was in practice, and I wish I could take credit for saying this because my friend Carlos, he said it. And they were like, this team sucked. It sucked last year. It's going to suck this year. We're the same team. And Carlos is like doing the bunting practice. He's right in front of me, and he stops and he goes, let me tell you something. He's a very quiet kid growing up. He hardly ever talked, but he said, let me tell you something. He goes, we have two new hitters, two guys that are new. And it was me and this other guy, Ricky. He said, you got Wolf and you got Ricky. And they were still calling me Wolf Boy, you know, kind of messing with me, whatever. But yeah, he said Wolf and Ricky. He's like, well, we got two new pitchers. Our pitching last year sucked. Our hitting was okay. Dude, I made it a point that year. I set a bar. I set a standard that year. Like, I hit so many freaking balls out of the park. I didn't care. We were up 11-0. And I ain't afraid to admit, I'll say the name of the team, Taylor Sporting Goods. We're beating their ass. I like Taylor Sporting Goods. I'm not joking. I like it. But we were whooping their ass. I'll do it in Trump's voice. It was an incredible ass whooping. I mean, the score was 9-0. I got up there with junk time, and I still hit a home run. The pitcher was weak, and I knew he was. And I could have just, hit the ball like normal, but I hit it as hard as I could to break somebody's windshield at the hospital across town. I did that. Very, very powerful hitter. I am. I ran the bases very slowly. This team had humiliated us at the beginning of the season, so it was payback. I don't do those things lightly. I got to say, it was very nice. It was very incredible. But you know what? Take the amount of games that we won, not we, because I wasn't on that team, but the amount of games that we won the season before they did, and double it. That's how many games that we lost. 2. We lost 2 games that season. We won the championship, and then we won like 2 or 3 counties over. We beat everybody. We just and then we finally got stopped. And I think it was just got tired. I didn't want to spend my whole summer playing, and I just some of the guys kind of I figured out why they were losers because they just kind of got tired. They got tired. They just wanted to quit. They want to go run around and drive around the drag with their girlfriends and stuff and whatever. And I was just ready to play ball with them, play as long as I needed to, but they gave up. So I was like, hey, you guys suck, y'all are. So I just said, whatever, you guys do what you got to do. But I hit a home run like nearly every game in that. It's a totally different season because those 2 pitchers, they were incredible. They were great. So they had 1 good pitcher before, so we had 3 good starting pitchers. And I freaking I hit like 425 that year or something. It was crazy. It was unbelievable. It was the best season in baseball I ever had, and I was pretty damn good. But, it is what it is. So everybody thinks, well, this but look, 4 people changed the fortunes of an entire team and turned them around. They had 3 losing seasons in a row. Coaching wasn't even good. But the assistant coach who never could get his whatever, he became the head coach and everything changed. The mentality has to change. The culture has to change. When you are talking about sports, people are like, what does sports have to do with it? It has everything. What do you think they use to galvanize you guys? Do you know what the Soviet Union, have you heard the Miracle on Ice? You know what that is?
Oh, when the Americans beat the Soviets.
When the Americans beat the Soviets in hockey,
Mhm.
the Russians were like, we must break you, like Ivan Drago. And so they built this hockey team. They gave them steroids. They were shooting steroids into their testicle, directly into the testicles. This is bear semen. Take it in your balls and go and defeat them. Kill all of the Americans. Crush their little heads whatever. Swish their brains until it becomes yogurt. That's what they wanted to do to us in every sport. Because sports are important. Because in the World Cup, every year people get killed. They do. Every year that the World Cup plays, because your country has to be the more betterest country. Because if you lose a soccer match, you are a little sissy girl. Sports galvanizes people. I was at an Astros game and I was jumping up, cheering, whatever, and there were these 2 guys sitting over the other side of me, and I knew they were Muslim. I mean, they were dressed like. The other side of me was this black guy. In front of me were Hispanic people. There was some Indian guys there. I mean, there were these women behind me that sounded like they were from Yugoslavia. I mean, you know what? All of us are jumping around, screaming, cheering, and whatever because the Astros are winning. The Astros are going to the playoffs that year, and it was a big thing, and it was like, wow, we're all happy. And when you look around and you see that, guess what? It sticks with you how important sports really is. So when next time you say, what does it matter? What does it matter who wins? And what does it matter if they're rigging the sports and using the referees and the judges? What do you call them? The umpires. What does it matter? It matters a lot. Because the powers that be are rigging these games because they want certain teams in there and certain teams not. Then you got to figure out why is it that they don't want those teams in there. I can tell you absolutely why they don't want Texas teams in there, because of the independent spirit of Texas, period. Texas is always doing something to piss the federal government off. The most latest thing, what was it? Gold and silver will become currency soon. It's now state law. And they're serious about their pew-pew rights, and we can sustain our own selves. We don't have a state tax. We have all these things. Now, it's hot as the devil's crotch down here. So if you can handle that, because it's still hot. It was like in the 90s today. It's October, last 2 years. But how much of that is weather manipulation? Because, hey, can't have too much fun. Haha. You got to freeze to death in the winter and burn up in the summer. 6 months of unbearable heat, and then 2 or 3 months of just absolute horrible, your snot freezes cold. It gets below zero. It's in the tens. Are you not having fun, comrade? Because I'm telling you, they're messing with the weather, and people think I'm crazy. Now, I'm not Alex Jones. I'm turning the freaking frogs gay. We're not talking about that. I'm just telling you what's happening. Go look around. It's what's happening. And I think that when you stop and you look at all of this crap, look at how our soldiers get treated. They go over there, they lay their ass on the line, they get their ass shot off, they come back, and then they have mental problems. Not only do they not address the mental problems, the VA doesn't do anything. VA stands for very agitated. That's all they are. And then they get attachments, and nobody can even fathom that. And they have nowhere to turn. And that demon is telling them, go ahead. The suffering doesn't end on this earth. Go ahead and take your own life, and the suffering will end. What a lie that is. When that happens, the fun just begins right there. So that is a problem. Then when people tell you this is what's going on, this is what's happening, you know what they do? They run to their priest, they run to their preacher, their rabbi, their cleric, whatever it may be, and they tell them, Father, this guy's telling me that it's a demon on me. And they're like, no, that's no, bro. No, son, no. Oh, brother. Let me tell you. No. There's no such thing as demons. Like, yeah, but didn't Jesus cast? Well, yeah, there's tails. There's tails, like DuckTales or tails. Tailspin. Jesus went around saying a lot of things. We got to look at it's this whole, are you hungry? Let's go get something to eat. 501c3. 501c3PO. Let's eat a sandwich. You know what you should do? Ignore all that evil stuff. Ignore it. And if you ignore all of the bad, don't be watching paranormal shows that might show you things. Like about Petra. Mr. Park Ranger guy. I got to tell you something. You don't believe it because you work there? Let me tell you something. I'm going to tell you something. It doesn't matter how many people work there or don't work there or whatever. We knew somebody who did too. They were a cop and they said, yeah, but they ignore it. Doesn't make it go away. Then you say, oh, well, people wander off and they fall off of cliffs. Why are people dying there at all?
It just happens.
It just happens in Petra, right? Mm-hmm. Then you say, well, that's just stories that the Bedouins believe. Me and my people, we colonized this shit and we kicked them straight out. Doors tall enough for a 20-foot person to walk out of. Why? Well, they made the doors very granular and whatever. Is that a word? I don't know. But they did the windows too. How about the whole place just looks like it was made for giants? That's kind of odd, isn't it? And then not only that, but there's tons of information on the YouTube superhighway that will tell you and will show you paranormal activity happening, orbs, shadows, all kinds of stuff. People waking up with weird beings hovering over them. Where are you at? Where are you at, sleepy park ranger guy? I just watched a video earlier. Somebody sent me. They had all kinds of crap on there. It was about Petra, yeah, the Forbidden City. Oh, we don't call it that. I don't give a shit what you call it. The place is haunted as hell. I wouldn't stay a night there for nothing. I don't give a crap. Maybe you do because you can sleep and maybe you're already possessed. I don't know what the hell's on your back. I don't know what you have. Sleeping sickness. I don't know. But I personally am sensitive to it. So I'm not going to go there and sleep there because I'm going to wake up with something there right in front of me. And I don't want to have to fight with it. Al-Madam is another one. Baalbek is another one. These places, they used to exist. These places used to be civilizations, ancient civilizations, and they are full of demons, as is Jerusalem. You want to anger a Muslim or a Jewish person? Tell them that Jerusalem is evil. No, it is holy. We kill for this place. And Jesus told his brother James, he says, get the heck out of here. This place is full of archons, James. He says, free, brother. Free yourself and flee. From Jerusalem. Freedom was being away from Jerusalem. Spiritual freedom. You are actually in a bondage there. You have the black cube people running things. Represented by the sons of Ishmael, right? And by the sons of Jacob, supposedly. And these people supposedly, right? They're very moral people. They have they're very holy religious. They would never hurt anyone other than any animal they kill to eat and every single human being they come in contact with.
But besides that,
it's
all good.
They don't do anything bad. I mean, they're against smoking weed and everything. Believe that. True that.
Mm-hmm. Won't eat pepperoni.
They won't even eat pepperoni.
That's a big one.
That's horrible. They won't eat it. Truffles is a big fan of these religions.
Yeah.
He goes to mosque and sometimes he wears a yarmulke. Sometimes he has he hangs out with the mullahs. I think he just likes to promote those religions because it keeps him safe.
Yeah, of course.
I argued with him the other day about it. I said, Truffles, you're going to hell doing that.
He's opportunistic.
He is.
We're trying to convert him.
I told him, I said, look, I personally don't eat pork. And he argued back, and he makes a good point. He says, yes, but some of you do. I said, oh, man, you're right. And you can never trust humans when they have an appetite. Because a lot of these people aren't even people. They're freaking reptiles. You think I'm joking? Here's the thing, folks. I'm going to leave you with this. These people who are doing these things, they're manipulative. They're very, very controlling. And they're just killing each other because they need to figure out who's going to be manipulating the rest of us. It's all a theater. But unfortunately, innocent people get murdered in the middle of this crap. Right? Not everybody is a sociopath or a terrorist or both. Right? So a lot of decent people who don't want to be a part of this. You know, and I hate it. I hate that things are the way they are. But all I do is tell you what's real. I tell you the truth. I don't pull any punches. I could have just told this story and just told the story and, you know, and just said, wow, isn't that fantastical? That's some crazy stuff, right? These guys told us a crazy tale. I didn't have to make it about the truth other than what they said. I had somebody message me the other day too, Anthony. They were like, you know, if you didn't give your opinions and try to teach people stuff, you'd have millions of followers.
And your point is?
I said, like John Prine said, I said, I could have 1 million more friends and all I got to lose is my point of view.
Mm-hmm. That's why that's one of my favorite songs ever.
Yeah. I like, what's it called? Son. What's it called? Mama, I'm here. Your boy is here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, what's that called? What's that song called?
that the-
Native Son, or
I thought it was called like Mexican Home or something.
is it Mexican
I
Home?
think so.
Yeah. I know. I love the John Prine. I don't. Somebody said something about his views or whatever. I'm like, look at Willie Nelson. Good grief, dude. That
Yeah.
guy's out there. Free whoever the left says the free. I don't even know what he's talking about at the time. He made a drink made of marijuana.
70 years of smoking weed. I mean,
Did you see that?
No.
He's got a drink now made of marijuana.
Jeez.
You sip it.
It's not enough to just smoke it every day. Now you got to drink it.
Oh, dude.
I mean, what are you, like 80 years old, dude?
Yeah, he's like 88 years old or so. Look him up. How old is old
Jeez.
Willie? I've met him. I've seen him in concert. I actually got to talk to him briefly. I've seen him twice. I saw him and Alvin Crow at the Broken Spoke one time. Both times I was drugged there by a date, and they're like,
dang, he's 92 years old.
92. Okay. Well, you know what? That's what's weird is I read it a couple years ago and he was 88. And that just kind of sticks with you. That's how old he is. He's 92. He's old. But anyways, yeah. So thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being here. Thank you for making PRT what PRT is. And that's informative, if nothing else, and it's entertaining. And remember, everything on this show is absolutely for entertainment purposes only. It doesn't mean anything, okay? It doesn't. Don't take it to heart, okay? I'm just a Looney Tune wacky guy up here just spouting off, right? That's what my enemies say. They say I'm crazy. He's evil. He's crazy. Take everything out of context. Look at what he does. Who cares, right? It's all entertainment purposes only. Don't go telling Soros on me. Dark seed. Dark side, whatever. Don't go tell on me now. Don't be. So we were making fun earlier. We're making fun of Thanos and Apocalypse and Darkseid. Well, not really Thanos. Thanos is just, he's just the balance. The other ones are just really pure evil. But so yeah, we'll be back on Sunday. On Sunday, we have a great show planned. I'm going to be talking about a guy who went to Mexico to get help when he was a child because he was ill, and came back with something that followed him for a long time. And it ties into the Aztecs and one of their creatures that they believed in. You're going to learn something. No, it'll be fun. What did we have on last night? Was it the vampire episode? We had a vampire episode last night on the Patreon, right?
Yeah, it was like a vampire crawler.
Yeah,
creature.
a vampire crawler type creature. I don't know what it is or what it was. Join the Patreon. And that's just an hour-long episode every week of some kind of something, And then Thursday, which is, what is that? So get your name in green, folks. Your name needs to be in green. If your name's not in green, you're missing out because you will be able to enter, what do you call it? The
members only.
The members only thing. You'll be able to enter the members only or go to the members only, whatever, and watch those shows. Tomorrow night, what do we got? What are you going to put up for tomorrow night?
Tomorrow night, we got an episode coming out on the members only about a succubus entity.
Okay. So tomorrow night on the members only, it's going to be a heck of a show. So get your name in green, become a member. I see Skyrim says hi. What is it? High Elf? Hi. Skyrim High Elf 4. Your name's not in green, man. What are you doing? And then Fong Wen, you need to get your name in green too. Cooper Young. I tell you guys have Apple. That's probably why. Make it hard. Behind the green dumpster. Okay. All right, guys. So thank you for tuning in. We're going to do the giveaway before we go. And we found a new distributor, if you want to call it that. Somebody that's going to be taking care of our stuff. Not the people that you order the shirts from. I still need to get that done too. But the store is open on the regular store, but I want to open up a store that's going to sell hats. And it's going to sell the regular merch with different styles that you can't get on the store now. We're still going to do that. It just very, very important meeting yesterday, and I'm so relieved it went well. Got some stuff done. I'm going to be moving forward now and getting some things going here. Got to put an end to some crap, and it's going to happen. It's going to be good. So yeah, but we have a new place that we're going to be shipping from. So I talked to the owners today. They seem pretty cool, and we do ship a lot of stuff. If you get something from us, make sure you post it in the Paranormal Roundtable group and show people that you won. That would greatly help us, right? And if you don't get something from us and we owe you something, let us know. Patreon or giveaway, either way. Don't be shy. Just do what you got to do. Let us know. Be like, hey, sucker, where my stuff at? All right. Trying to live my life sucker free, and you're over here messing with me. So here's the thing. I want to say something before I go here. I got messaged by this guy who also reached out and tried to say something to Josh from What Lurks Beneath. He tried to tell me, he says, you are a knucklehead. He said, those things you talk about that happen in these state parks, they don't happen. He goes, I worked at Yosemite for 4 years and nothing ever happened when I was over there, blah, blah, blah. So it's a very big place. What part did you work? And he told me whatever. And I said, is it possible that it could have happened? He goes, well, I heard some stories, but, I said, let me guess, you didn't believe it. Well, I never saw it, but there was one crazy guy, and he went on to tell me about a crazy guy that saw some crap. I said, so the guy that you worked with was crazy, right? He's a crazy guy. That's what you said, right? Aaron, is that what you said? I'm going to say it last time. Be nice. Say it last time. But you said some crap about me and Josh Nogue. You said you told him off too. You reached out, and I guess you said something to him. I talked to Josh a few days ago. And what's crazy is that you can literally go and buy books called Missing 411 that are literally all about that. And you tell me that doesn't happen, that we're fear-mongering. Right? If you buy that, I'll throw the Golden Gate in for free. I'm going to tell you right now, man, get the GTFO. All right? Don't ever email me again. All right? Dude, I am beyond tired of your shit. Right? Man, I'm telling you. Oceanfront property in Arizona. From my back porch, you can see the sea. Yeah, right?
That does sound nice if that was a real thing.
El stupido. El asawipo. Go eat another Bucky's burrito. All right, guys. Thank you. Thank you for tuning in and making PRT the best of what it is. And that's you, the audience. Otherwise, I'm just a man up here rambling, and just talking, right? And I've seen that happen. I see somebody with 3 people in their chat, and they're just going to town. It's like clapping with one hand. It's fun for about 2 seconds. But, yeah, thank you. Thank you for that. And just remember, you stay sucker-free too, all right? Next time somebody comes and tells you, oh, nothing ever happens in those places, blah, 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 just tell them, did you know YouTube existed until this week?
What about books?
We got them books with the slappy things that have the pictures and the things and the
things with the words on them. Squiggly
things you call the W's, whatever the word. Yeah. Whatever. I don't look at those. Nothing but bullshit lies. Some of them are full of shit.
Oh,
They do need to be burned, but some of them aren't, Some of them people write and you're going like, what is this crackpot, just, you can look, you can tell. Boilerplate, crazy people writing books, throw them in the trash, burn them. All right. So anyways, thank you for tuning in, like I said, but let's do the giveaway. I'm going to do 2 really quickly here. Tell me you haven't won and you win. It's that simple. I know some of you are sitting there looking at your phone going, sounds complicated. No, it's not. It really isn't. Just say, I haven't won and you win. How about that?
What's the catch? Got to be something to it.
I don't know, man.
No. It's all right. I mean, it's pretty simple. The catch is that as everyone knows, the merch is cursed with the Popeye's chicken bone black magic.
Yeah, we've cursed on the merch.
Yeah.
Curse the merch.
But if you just put some a little bit of dish soap
There we go.
on it, you can get that chicken grease out real quick.
Bell Saint 1, oh, but what? No, now. Okay. Yes, you win then. And the nice Ashley, you were next. Nice Ashley says, I haven't. Then she said, just kidding. So nice Ashley obviously has won. So we go down to the next one.
You deceive us.
Yeah, you
ban her at once.
There's Yvonne McBride. There you go, Yvonne. Haven't won. How about that? Randy says, I will take the Cursed Castle hat. I will take that hat. This hat right here. First, you got to have that mummy coming out. He comes in breaking through the wall. He's like, oh, yeah, like Kool-Aid, right? And he goes to the merch. And it's so strong that he can't tear it. So then he just, he throws it over his shoulder, shoves you by your face, and walks out. He's not a murdering mummy. He's just a stealing mummy. He just takes it. The kangaroo man hiding his, I don't know. Who knows what he's doing? I thought Barbara Adams said Maybelline. Maybe it's Maybelline. No, Barbara, it's not. You can get your name in green. It's not Maybelline. She said Natalie. I was like, okay. All right. This is actually Clink Room, and I ordered so many from them over the years that they actually wrote me a personalized note. Say, got that little gorilla, the King Kong symbol. All right, guys. Congratulations to the winners. Send us your information. Tell them what they got to do, what they got to do to send the information.
Yeah, so all you have to do is send an email to the email address scrolling at the bottom of the screen, the giveaways at prtpodcast.com. You send your name, tell us what you won, and if you want a shirt, give us your shirt size. Again, it's scrolling at the bottom of the screen, giveaways at prtpodcast.com. You send your info there, we'll get it, and we'll get your stuff together and get it mailed out to you.
Barbara says sorry. Nothing to be sorry about. You didn't do anything wrong.
Just don't let it happen again.
Sean says,
whatever it was.
I won pink eye. You won pink eye? It's not much of a winning.
I mean, you don't have to win that. You can just go outside and get it.
That's not much of a winning, boy.
Just go to a dog park. You can get it, you know.
That's like,
you don't got to win it.
Exactly. Hello, Josie Wells. Man's got to make a living somehow. And he's like, dying ain't much of a living, boy. Love that scene. The dude walks out. Then he comes back and he's like, I had to come back. Plenty Smith, he's like, I know. He shoots him. And he goes right back out the door. Oh, Josie Wales. And you know, the morons in this community remind me of that Captain Red Legs.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, there's a lot of work to do in Texas. A lot of evil there. And he's like, I thought this was going to end. Doing right ain't got no end.
Yeah.
There's a man down there. By the name of Josh Turner. He's over there. He's talking on that microphone. We got to stop him. Got to kill him. Got to get rid of him. Well, I suggest you turn back, Captain Red Leg. No. Ain't no. Yeah, it's going to happen. He's got a real evil look about him. We got to take him out. He's like a ravenous werewolf spreading the truth. Only thing, we call it lies. We call everything he says bad, and we call good bad. We call bad good. That's Captain Red Legs right there. You know who you are. Anyways, thank you, folks, for tuning in. Thank you for making the show for the millionth time now. We're going to say it for real. I got to go for reals. All right, we love you. And we're going to play the new song. Did we play it already earlier?
Yeah.
Okay, we played that. So let's play this.
Mother Mary, full me. I know you see all the pain inside me. Rosary, Mother, Mother Mary, can you help me? Please, God, don't forsake me. Remember me, remember me. Holding on tightly to my rosary. I'm a sinner, from cradle to grave. Jesus, I hope it is I that you save. The tears I've cried regarding my life, please, Lord, don't cut me out of the book of life. Rosary, Mother Mary, can you help me? Please, God, don't forsake me. Remember me, remember me. Holding on tightly to my rosary. My repentant heart bleeds, my spirit cries. I'm completely dying inside. My sins are great. I've dread the fire lake. Forgive me. What will it take? Reach for me, oh Lord, in my weakest moment. All of thy own. Rosary, Mother Mary, can you help me? Please, God, don't forsake me. Remember me, remember me. Holding on tightly to my rosary. I am guilty. I am guilty and filthy. Forgive me, take this pain away. I know I stray. My soul is tired with heavy burdens, no clergyman redemption. I stand alone, my sins ingrained into my bones. Heaven or hell, where will my soul dwell? Eternity is waiting for me. Jesus, I beg, have mercy on me. Rosary, Mother Mary, can you help me? Please, God, don't forsake me. Remember me, remember me. Holding on tightly to my rosary. Mother Mary, can you help me? Please, God, don't forsake me. Remember me, remember me. Holding on tightly to my rosary. Rosarium, Mater Maria, potens nemium.